What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the RBS Cinema Podcast, where we talk about different
RBS.
And I am your host, Devin. I am joined by my lovely friend, Chris.
Lovely.
Yes, lovely.
This guy.
Sam is not here this week because, unfortunately, he is
Sam.
sick.
Sam, that turd.
Yeah, he texted me this morning. He goes like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do the podcast today because I'm sick. That's why I wasn't at work yesterday. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like,
Golly.
he goes like, but if we do decide, which we will, talk about the other movie. If you guys can't tell, we're talking about John Wick. And like we talked about last week at the end of the podcast, where we talked about that we would talk about John Wick. And unfortunately, because this is also one of Sam's favorite movies, as well as mine, he goes like, man, now I have to miss it.
Poor Sam.
But of course, we got the other ones that we could talk about later on. So never fret, Sam. We will talk about the second one at some other point. But yeah, so
Sam's sick.
Yep.
Not John Wick, I'll tell you what.
Unfortunately.
Just beaten down.
Yep. But otherwise, how have you been?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, me and this guy, I certainly won't say the company or anything like that. I'm never going to do that, but found ourselves working at this warehouse that's way too small.
Yep.
Moving products, forklift operators, moving products with very little space. But, yeah.
Occasional conversation about
Yeah.
random things.
Honestly, it's not that bad of a place. Like, every now and then, I feel like it's a pretty rough place. But honestly, with how small it is and how much stuff that we have to move, people are generally nice.
Yeah.
Like, there's days where people, because the way you have to understand it, we're basically in traffic all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job.
Yeah.
Because the apartment, or the warehouse is way too small. So we're moving stuff and it's like, I'll wait for you, you wait for me, I'll wait for you. No lights, no stop signs.
Yep.
So after a while, people start to just be like, you're like, are you okay? Anytime I've asked people, are you okay? I'm really sorry. They're like, oh yeah, I know, I'm fine.
Yeah.
The look on their face is like, why are you in my way again?
I know. That's how I am. Like, I'll sit there and I'll just sitting there waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously, it's not their fault that they're in the way because there's other
It's
stuff.
not. We're all working.
There's other stuff that's preventing them from moving.
Yeah.
So, but my biggest gripe with it is like people that have a conversation in the middle of the aisle.
That's
and
tough.
So like,
that's tough.
can you move to the side at least?
Yeah, that's tough.
So,
but through all of that, I believe it was, because don't you have like a Batman tattoo?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you got like is that the bat fleck?
Do you bleed?
Fleck.
Bat fleck.
You will.
And I think maybe I was like Batman.
I think so.
That's possible.
I've also got the ring, which I'm not wearing now.
I don't know if you know, but he likes Batman a little bit, just a tad,
Just a little bit.
just a little bat bite there.
Just a little guy.
Little guys.
So then it just became nerding out,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "I'm gonna do this podcast." So I'm very honored to be a guest
Yes.
on the Ribs podcast, read by Skip. And we'll have to see what happens with Juan Wick.
Yes. Which, for those of you that are new to the podcast, what we pretty much do is that we talk about the movie, talk about the important stuff, who directed it, who started it, produced it, all that fun stuff, all the little niche credits for the movies, and then talk about it, not in depth, but scene for scene, and then we will give our consensus at the end of the movie on whether we should rent, buy, or skip the movie, which is the reason why this is called RBS. And we will then talk about more stuff. I've been incorporating more stuff into this sort of podcast.
Surprises.
I do have a couple of surprises going
Surprises.
on. I also started talking about wrong people. So people that like, especially for us, like if it's gonna be a buy. So for instance, for John Wick, right?
Right.
Because obviously, for me, if you can't tell,
I think he bought a copy. I think he bought a
One or two.
copy or two.
maybe.
Just a few.
Yeah.
Spent a couple coins.
Yeah.
Some gold coins on some copies.
Yeah.
So
I don't have another one on the way. I can tell you that.
There's
much.
not another one on the way.
No,
so
but
that's not an issue.
Otherwise, like I would go down for the reviews of going like, okay, who are some people that would give a really bad rating on this really good movie?
Oh, right.
Instance.
Okay.
So,
yeah, you talked about this in the previous
and
episode.
obviously, if it's a movie that's like, not that great for critics or audience, not that that really matters anyway, but to some people it does. But regardless, for that kind of an instance, it's like, okay, who would give people, or who are some people that would give this a really high rating? Mm-hmm. So it's like, kind of like not a good movie by any counts, like Morbius. Right? Like that movie is not good. Okay? Or Madam Web. Madam Web is not a good movie.
Really quick, do I need to watch Morbius for the laughter, or is it so bad it's not even funny?
It's not even so bad that it's funny.
Dang.
I mean, like,
because me and my wife laughed at Madam Web.
Yeah,
like we had a good time.
It's
but Morbius.
Morbius is better than Madam Web, but I feel like that Morbius just tries to take itself way too seriously.
Oh dang!
Because it's kind of like in the
I love a good laugh. So
of Venom.
So, Venom's not. It's not funny.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
anyway.
like, I enjoy Venom. I mean, I bought both steelbooks for both the first and second one.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm like, I enjoy them. Like, it's a good
time.
No,
it's enjoyable.
But
did people? Because I did notice. I think it was Metascore. This doesn't have the best score. But it is an action movie, so I don't expect it to.
No, not typically.
But it's a good one.
Yeah, typically with like action movies or comedies or horror movies in general, they don't really have that good of scores because it's just like all substance and no story, basically.
Yeah.
Think of it kind of like Shoot 'em Up. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Clive Owen.
Yeah. Shoot 'em right.
Yeah,
is that what that movie was called?
Yeah, Shoot 'em Up with Clive Owen.
That was a crazy movie.
Because
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, because like
watch it.
I told this to my wife at some point. I go like, I think I was talking about John Wick specifically. She was like, I just don't like action movies. I'm like, well, for this case of John Wick, there's actually a story behind it because it's not just like, something bad happens, so now I have to go kill a bad guy. It's like, it's not that specifically.
Yeah.
But, like, for Shoot 'em Up, there was no story to it. It was just Clive Owen. He's protecting a baby, and he's just going after these bad guys. Or he's trying to get away from the bad guys, and they're tracking him down to, like, basically try to get this kid.
I think I'm thinking of the right movie. Does that have, like, Monica Bellucci from, like, The Matrix? I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I'm not sure. I'm thinking of a Clive Owen movie with a ton of shooting.
I don't remember. That could have been it.
It's got the guy, the guy from, like... Yeah. I'll have to figure it out. The John Adams guy.
Yeah.
But
anyway. Paul Giamatti. Yeah, Monica
Paul Giamatti.
Bellucci.
There you go.
Yeah, Monica Bellucci. She's in that. So.
Apparently that's where I go when I think of Paul Giamatti. It's John Adams. Even though he's done many better things. Love and Mercy. Foolish. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, what did you find when it comes to wrong people with John Wick? These lovely. Just so people know, I can't stand film critics, so we'll see what
it's not critics, it's users.
It's users.
It's the audience. Okay. Because obviously, with critics, they have their own like critique and everything like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination, we are not those people.
Yeah.
We are not.
Some users fancy themselves to be critics.
Yes. So and like I hate pretentious people who are like, well, like this scene doesn't really focus on the character development. Like that was one of the things that I saw was like, there's no character development. I'm like, there's no really character development for anybody. It just unfolds as it goes.
When people create rules that could exist anywhere, it's like, you don't use that on this other movie that you praise, so why are you using it here? Because it's an action movie? Yeah. Probably. And I know we'll get into it, but what you said about like the story, the character development, you said something else about that, but I think this movie kind of tricks. I think it's a little surprising. Like, it is actually pretty well grounded.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I think it depends on your mood. The first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is just a dumb action movie." Yeah. The second time, I was like, "This is pretty grounded."
Right.
It's got some stuff in it. It's got some connections. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But yeah, so like we'll get into it here.
Yeah.
So obviously we're talking about John Wick, the action man himself. So I think that I'll cut to a clip of Markiplier talking John Wick being the action man. That clip is like super funny.
Action man? Who the hell's that?
Oh my god, no, it's John Wick.
But otherwise, yeah, we're talking about John Wick.
Okay, let's go.
Which is a super good movie in my opinion. Super high top tier action movie for me.
It's a special one.
Recent.
It's special.
Yeah.
It's got its own thing going on.
Because like there's some action movies that you're like, yeah, you know, like that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But given the fact that they've made 4 of them and now they're coming out with a spin-off one of Ballerina.
How do I start doing what you do?
Looks like you already have.
Of course, give me more. Give me more.
More Wick, please. Yeah, it's. Have you seen like The Raid or like
yes,
The Raid?
I've seen The Raid.
So I haven't
Raid
seen
movies.
those movies.
They're
Unfortunately,
super good.
Unfortunately,
They're super good.
I bought one as a gift for somebody. It was like their birthday, and I was like, "What?" I just was like, "What's a really good Asian action?" And then I just sent it to him as like a birthday gift. But I still haven't seen it. I think I've seen a clip or 2 on YouTube, and I'm like, "Yes, this is my thing."
It's super good.
This is my thing.
In the first one, there's the hallway fight scene, and that one's just like super good.
The hallway. That's what I always hear about, the hallway fight scene.
Any movie or show that is like heavy on action, if they have a hallway fight scene, I'm fully into it. Like Daredevil had like I think it was a oneer. Like they had a one shot of the hallway fight scene. That one was really good. And like Old Boy, that one's super good. And like I just played Sifu.
Do they do something like that in the American? Because I haven't seen the American.
Yes, they do. I saw the American one. I need to watch the Korean version though.
It's good.
Yeah,
that fight scene's cool. It's like you're playing a video game.
Yeah,
it's just like
because like and speaking of video games, I actually played Sifu earlier this week.
Oh, that's one. Is that direct? Maybe not. Maybe not. I think I'm thinking of something different. Anyway, Sifu.
No, Sifu. I know that they came out with a movie about it, but that's not it. But
for sure.
the one is like you play as a martial artist. Your dad dies in the beginning part of the movie.
Yeah.
The game. And essentially, what the thing is that you're after revenge, you're taking down like his disciples that killed him, and then every time that you die, you tack on another year of your life. So I think you could go up to like 80 years in the span of like the plot. But there's a sequence in like when you go to the first level. I think it's the first level. Yeah. No, it's the second level that you go through because you go to a club in the second one.
Okay.
And there's a fight scene in a hallway, and you open up the door, and it's like in the back point of view of you, and then it shifts to a side view of the hallway. So you're just taking down a bunch of guys. I'm like, this is really cool, and that's what it would feel like if you were to do that sort of thing in a video game. I'm like, that's so cool. Awesome. Especially for being a kung fu fighting game, that's even better.
Yeah.
So, but...
Yeah, anytime these film people learn a thing or two from video games, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yep.
Like, bring the worlds together. Yeah. There's money there.
Yeah. Especially because, like, obviously there's movie tie-in games.
Yeah.
Like Batman Begins, or, like, especially, like, the Marvel ones... a bunch of other ones. Terminator has one, like, you know, a slew of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they're not that good.
I remember those from back in the day.
But
Hollywood Video.
Yep.
Get 3 SNES movie. Well, if it's based off the movie, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know what I'm playing.
Yeah. I mean, like, some of them are decent, like Spider-Man. Like, those ones are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, the second one was good. Third one, not so much. But second one is, like, definitely top tier.
But all that said, like... It feels like, as far as I know, like this is the American like Raid.
Yeah.
Right? Because
this one,
I'm sure it exists somewhere else. Kind of like I know it's not as intense.
I feel like this one's not as intense as the Raid. This one's
kind
of like a smaller version.
That spirit of the action.
Yeah.
I assume.
I would assume so.
So for like Americans seeing this as like, oh, this is a really cool way to do action.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, so like we'll get into it here. So we got the director John Stahelski, who was the drawing a blank on what it's called. Stuntman. Yes. He was a stuntman of Keanu Reeves from the Matrix trilogy.
So cool.
So that's actually really surprising. I think this is his first movie that he's ever done.
Yeah, it is.
If I remember. So
it's weird.
Yeah, and then we got the writer Derek Kolstad, and we got a slew of players in this game.
Yeah.
It's super good. So
And quick thing, this movie, it was called Scorn.
Yeah,
for
it was
the longest
called
time.
Scorn
and then
first, and then
Derek
they just...
Kolstad named it after his grandpa,
Nice.
John Wick.
Nice.
Which
And
is funny, because if his grandpa had a stupid name, it would be weird. Because people would be like, yeah, dude, so I know you love your grandpa, but
can't really go for
Peter
Greg.
Toppentail isn't
Yeah.
going to be the best name for
Can't
this
go with
movie.
Greg Peters.
But John Wick,
Like,
it sounds so close to like John Wayne. It
Yeah.
works out, so.
it's super good.
But anyway.
But so we got players here. We got Keanu Reeves, of course, who plays as John Wick. We got Michael Nyqvist, Alfie Allen, Willem Dafoe, who's
Awesome.
also in this.
good
He's
in
not
this.
in any of the other ones, but we'll get to that later on. John Leguizamo, who's only in like the 3, I think. Yeah. He's only in the first 3. Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, and Dean Winters.
Which is already, spoilers. Spoiler podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the details.
Which
so.
I recently found out about listening to a podcast about this movie where they were talking about Michael Nyqvist, who plays as Vigo.
Yeah.
The mob boss. This was his last movie that he did.
Oh,
and
really?
then he died shortly sometime after this.
Right.
So that's why.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. I don't think that they went into why he died, but yeah, he died shortly after this movie came out.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, as the movie goes on, you find out what happens. But
Right.
such a... that'd be really weird to be like his family.
Right.
You're like,
and it was like the same thing for Lance Reddick. Lance Reddick died shortly after the 4th one came out.
Okay.
So,
Dang.
which was very surprising. But he's coming out with, or he's in Ballerina too.
Okay.
So Lance Reddick is in Ballerina, which is very surprising. So, but a little tidbit that
Hopefully
I wanted
not
to also say was that I saw this for the 10-year anniversary earlier this week.
Yeah, you got to see this.
So-
How was that?
It was really, really good.
Excellent.
This is the only one that I haven't seen in theaters because I actually slept on this movie when it first came out.
Oh, I did
Because it came
too.
out in 2014.
Yeah. I was like,
And-
Keanu Reeves in another action movie.
Yeah, because
Whatever.
at that time he wasn't doing so well. Like for
Yeah,
movies.
he wasn't, was he?
No, he wasn't
Yeah.
in very big stuff. And then this brought him back into the limelight, and his popularity shot back
Hold
up.
me back in.
I'm thinking I'm back.
So, and that was actually really good for
Yeah.
him. And
This is cool.
like, shout out to Chad Stahelski for doing this.
Yeah.
He goes like, no, I want Keanu to be a part of this thing because like he's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's directed them ever since, and of course we got Keanu Reeves in all of them, which is freaking fantastic. So, but yeah, like he had a really big resurgence because when they were coming out with the 4th one, they were also making Matrix 4 as well.
Oh, okay.
So both of them were supposed to come out on the same day, and people dubbed it as Keanu Reeves Day
Get outta
because you
here.
had both big franchises that he's been a part of, Matrix 4 and
I
John
love
Wick
that.
4. They were both going to drop at the same time, but because of COVID, it pushed everything back. And,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it kind of sucked. But
That's awesome.
Keanu
Reeves Day.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
it would have been.
I'll celebrate Keanu Reeves Day.
Super good. It would have been so awesome. But of course, COVID happened, and then everything got pushed back. And
You're
Here we go
telling
now.
me that the FBI wants to give me my own holiday to celebrate?
so, but that would have been awesome.
Oh, Keanu.
But yeah, we'll get into the movie here. So we start off with Keanu Reeves, John Wick, basically dying, and he pops open his phone and he watches a recording that he had of him and his wife on the beach, and he basically just like collapses.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the title card, John Wick.
Oh my god, no, it's John Wick.
And so his wife dies.
Yes.
Which we come to find out. Now we're going back in time before he was collapsing on the street.
Yes.
And so like his wife dies because of an illness, and so like he's just at home, and it cuts to him being in the hospital with her on the hospital bed.
yeah.
And so I would assume that she's in a coma because like she doesn't wake up or nothing,
Oh,
and they're
right.
not talking
Yeah.
or nothing. But otherwise,
She's on her way out.
yeah, and so he nods to the doctor to basically pull the plug, and so like they do, and
Whew.
then it's super heart wrenching.
Whew.
But surely,
We're both
Things will get-
married, so
yeah,
It's not an easy
definitely
thing to think
hits,
about.
Hits kind of close to home
Yeah.
for most people, I would imagine.
Dang, man.
But yeah, it's super messed up. But then we go to the funeral. He gets dressed and he goes to the funeral, and
Right.
like he's at the casket and everything, and then he goes to leave. Willem Dafoe walks up, who's Marcus, who they've known each other for a while, and he goes like, I'm sorry for your loss and everything like that, and John just looks at him and goes like, what are you doing here, Marcus? He goes like, just checking on an old friend.
I have to say, this is the beginning of Keanu Reeves. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the fact that, what's his name, Chad Stahelski.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fact that it's his first movie, but because a lot of times, sometimes, like The Phantom Menace, right? Like sometimes these lines are delivered so awkwardly.
Yeah.
Because the director did not communicate. And it might just be it's Chad's first movie.
Yeah.
But this is the beginning of... I don't know. He's so alien and robotic in these movies. Like, it feels like he's line reading. But anyway...
Yeah,
it's the beginning of it, and you're like, okay, so this is how it's going to be.
Yeah,
but if you're willing to accept it, it's fun.
Yeah.
But he's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, he goes like, what are you doing here, Marcus?
And he's with Willem Dafoe, like one of the best actors that's ever existed.
Oh, yeah.
What are you really doing here, Marcus?
So,
after
funny.
After me and my wife walked out of the theater, she goes like, I just now realized this movie is good, but the dialogue is not. Like, the action sequences, they're really good.
but it's tough, though, because Keanu is in other movies, and he's not that bad.
No,
like,
he's not.
even in Point Break, like I was making fun of
Speed
earlier.
Or The Matrix.
He's, I mean, he's not going to win an Oscar, but he's not bad. Like, it bleeds, it blends in fine.
Yeah.
But with this one, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's happening with this guy?
Yeah.
Is this part of what he was going for? I assume, have you seen, like, the video, there's a YouTube video of, like, good acting, bad acting on YouTube, and it's Hugh Jackman in The Fountain, after he's, like, trying to save his wife, and he's, like, crying. And then it shows a clip of Keanu Reeves at the lake house, in the movie The Lake House, and he just sneezes.
Oh, yeah.
It's the dumbest sneeze you've ever seen. He's like, achoo!
Yeah.
Like, what did I just watch?
And
So
we'll cut to a clip of that, because I haven't seen that. But
you come to this moment, as soon as it starts, you're like, okay, take me down this road. But of course, as the movie goes on, you're like, okay, this is great. So,
yeah,
so
but
funny.
That was my wife's nitpick of the movie. She goes like, after watching this again, like I realized the dialogue isn't that great. The action sequences is awesome, but the dialogue, it's just not there.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's the rule in Hollywood. Like,
Yeah.
I remember having a friend who was an actor, and one of the first things he learned in one of his classes, probably over at UNL, is somebody was making fun of Keanu Reeves' acting, and the teacher was like, Keanu Reeves is one of the funnest, like, most professional people to work with.
Yeah.
So, I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of the rules. It's one of the rules of Hollywood. If you're
Right.
really easy to work with, and you take your job seriously and try to do well, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the second
Yeah.
that you get to that first scene, what are you doing here, Marcus?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. So later that night, he's doing the wake with friends and family, and everybody leaves, goes home, and then he gets a knock at the door. It's a delivery driver, not Amazon or FedEx, because of course they're too expensive. But they're like, "Oh, you're John Wick," and he goes like, "Yep." They're like, "Okay, sign here." He signs it. Doesn't ask questions. I would have asked like, "What is this? I'm not expecting a package. What's going on?" And
it's Keanu.
but yeah, and so he doesn't ask a question of going like,
Thanks.
yeah, and he just goes like,
It's so funny.
yeah, I'll just sign this, whatever this is.
Yeah.
And it's all, and they're like, okay, like have a good night. And he goes like, yep, you too. And it's a carrier.
Yeah.
Like it's a animal
Here we go.
crate. And so he brings it
The
inside,
dog.
and he gets a letter.
Yeah.
And as soon as he opens it up, it's a daisy, because his wife really likes daisies.
Right.
And
Because earlier when she died, they were on their anniversary.
yeah, he got
terrible.
her a bracelet of
Yeah.
daisies.
And that little Christopher Nolan type, you're seeing the
Shot.
memory happen.
Yeah.
So it's like almost a flashback, but not, which always hits me anytime I'm watching any
Yeah.
Nolan, the way he'll just inject it for a second. You're like, ooh, wow, out in public next
Yeah.
to the beautiful, like, I'm assuming New York City,
Like
river.
river.
She just
yeah.
collapses. You're like, oh my gosh, this is bad.
Yeah.
But then, yeah.
Like, that's intense.
Daisy.
Yeah.
Letter. Here we go.
Yeah, so basically, he reads the letter, and and so it's in her voice. She goes like, "Hey, like, I know that you're sad, and like you didn't want me to leave, but I couldn't just let you, basically, like, you still need to love something, and I gave you something to love, because you love me so much." And
she also doesn't want him to grieve alone.
Yeah. And
I forgot about that. Like,
so, yeah.
you need you to love something.
Yeah, and she got him a beagle puppy.
Yeah.
And when he's reading it, he cries. And I also noticed this the first time. He doesn't really, like, shed any tears.
Yeah.
But
he didn't do too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tears aren't there.
Yeah.
Didn't work out on the day.
It just seemed like that he was hyperventilating, like, it's just like, but otherwise, like, we're not in it for the drama or anything like that. We're in it for the action.
But that's it.
That's what we want.
I don't think he's not sad.
No.
He's just pissed.
Yeah. But we'll get to that. But like,
it's
obviously with people that have seen this, they totally get and they understand. But he opens up the carrier and he takes out the puppy and goes look at the collar to see what the dog's name is, and of course it's Daisy.
Daisy.
And he goes like, of course. And but yeah, so next morning, doing his thing, and he goes like, feeding the dog,
taking the dog out to take a little poopy.
Yeah, well, he does it like he opens up the door and it just bursts out, and he goes like, wait. I was like, oh
right.
yeah, that's right. And very coiled turd that dog made. That's very big for size too.
Just beautiful. It's a foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Of how well put together this movie's going to be.
Yeah. Are you saying that it's poop? This movie's poop? How dare you?
Oh no! He's going to kill me in my sleep.
Yeah.
Shoot my foot, then shoot my head. That's what I'll do.
Right.
That's what I'll do.
That's the John Wick way.
Yeah. You're making me think really good. That thing you just mentioned about, because my assumption is that his wife has no idea about this life that he lived.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah,
I don't think that he's ever talked about what he did for a living.
Because even in that moment, he was like, "I know you need something to love." Is she like? Did she maybe have a sense of like, you have a dark past, and I know that you got away from that past by having this loving relationship with me.
Right.
So if I'm going, you got to have something. So part of me is like, did she know? Maybe did she have some
Because like
idea?
they never addressed that in any of the movies either.
But I guess I forgot
whether he talked about that with her or not.
Yeah. Oh, they don't? Okay.
No, they never mention it at all. And any of the four movies, I also have a comic book as well, and this is before the first movie, which it's not on here. Sam has it. So Sam borrowed it.
He stole it. He borrowed it. He's over there wiping his nose and reading John Wick.
Yeah. And
Sam.
So it's like right before that he actually wants to get out and stuff.
I guess that, I heard that the actress, she's in other stuff, but I heard the actress, she was like, is it okay if I don't read the rest of the script?
Yeah.
I will read the beginning. So I guess it really is a mystery. I don't think, I think we just assumed she didn't know.
Right. But continuing on, so he feeds the dogs some cereal, and he goes like, "Don't worry, I'll get you some kibble later." So he gets in his car, sweet car by the way. It's awesome. I love this car.
I like it.
69 Mustang. It's super clean.
I grew up, and you probably saw them too with the ugly Mustangs, but this is a nice Mustang.
Yes.
I have to say.
And
one of my friends out there, my car friend, he'll hate me for saying that he hates Mustangs, but it's nice. What can I say?
It's a nice car.
It's a nice one.
But yeah, so like they leave, go to a gas station so that way he can fill up with gas, and there's these Russian guys that come in. And so because I'm half Russian, my dad is Russian. Okay? He speaks it fluently. I asked him because I watched it with him, and I go like, "What does he say?" He said something about like, "Oh, he just told him a joke." He didn't tell me what it was. He just said, "Oh, he said a joke."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, I want to know what this is."
Oh yeah, I forgot to look that up.
I looked it up, and I really couldn't find much. I remember when this first, like, not when this first came out. After a while of it coming out, like I started dissecting it. I was like, what do they say? And like, I remember that they said something, but I just don't know off the top of my head. But
I forgot about that. I was gonna look that up. I was also gonna look up like what people think all of the different sayings that the Continentals mean, but I forgot.
But they just start speaking in Russian to each other, and like there's no, like, it just says because I have closed captioning on for my TV, and it just says like, "Oh, speaks in Russian." I'm like, "The hell, dude!"
Speaks in Russian.
Yeah, like they're just speaking Russian.
But obviously, as the viewer, it's letting you know like, John Wick knows Russian.
Yeah,
Something's going on here.
I don't even think it really matters, honestly, because that's probably the reason why they did that. Because like throughout the movie, they have subtitles for when they speak Russian to each other.
Yeah.
In some cases.
Yeah.
Not 95% of the time they have the dialogue for it, but otherwise, like in this case, I'm pretty sure it's just banter going back and forth with each other, and the
giving us a cheap lost in translation ending or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and so like one of the guys comes up to him and he goes like, "Hey, that's a nice car," and he goes like, "Thanks," and he goes like, "Is it a 70?" He goes like, "No, 69." Like, and he goes like, "How much?" John just looks at him and goes like, "Excuse me?"
Sale.
And he goes like, "How much for the car?" And now he's like more stern. He goes like, "How much for the car?"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "It's not for sale." And so John gets in the car, and guy comes up to his passenger window, sees the dog, and he goes like, "Oh, I love dogs." And he goes like, "Everything has a price, bitch," in Russian. And John just looks back at him. He goes like, "Not this, bitch."
Yeah.
And again, talks to him back in Russian. He goes like, "What the hell?" And the guy that walked into the gas station, he comes up and he goes like, "Have a good day, sir," and scoffs at him for doing that, and like they leave.
And it's an important scene because I've been trying to pin down the meaning of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think I think I was helpful because I looked at the back of one of your things there, and it was just like, everything has a price. I was like, is that the meaning of the movie? Because I've been trying to pin it down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that you just saying that, I'm like, that might be the point of what's going on here.
Yeah. It's like everything has a price.
Yeah. All right.
And that's the whole consensus of this. And like even on the back of my figurine of John Wick that I have here, it says everything has a price.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And so he drives to this airstrip of which is just kind of out of left field. Which, by the way, the security guard that lets him in, he's reading the book that this movie is based on.
Oh, really?
So
that's awesome.
So he's reading the book. I realized after
is the name of the book like Scorn?
I think it's Scorn.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so they decided to change it to John.
I didn't know that. That's fun.
And I think that they changed the.
Yeah, he was supposed to be old.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like an older guy and everything.
But he's pretty old in this. I had no idea. Like, I'm watching this movie, like, what is he, 35?
Right.
Just like, no, he's like 50 years old, 49 years old.
And like even in the book, like he's supposed to be like an older guy and everything like that, and like he leaves this life of being a mercenary behind and all this bunch of stuff. And of course, he's like very skilled in hand-to-hand combat and all this bunch of stuff. So
yeah. So he's upset.
Yeah. So he goes to this airstrip.
Get to see a little bit of his anger.
It's like a small commercial airstrip, and he's just whipping around. You just hear his tires squealing in the hangar, and like there's 3 plow trucks that are at the edge of the airstrip, and so he's just driving down them. He'll drift and come very close to hitting them, and then just like he'll hit straight onto it, and then like he'll stop.
He's got
like,
a lot of anger that's barely under control.
Right, barely, just barely.
Is important as we continue.
And then,
but I do admit when I first saw it, I was laughing a little bit. He's like, ah!
He's like, ah! And it's all like, okay.
That's just, I'll just always quote Point Break. The FBI is me.
Yeah.
No, but then I'm like, oh, it makes sense. He's really
he's really.
We need this for later because
right.
he controls it later. But
and so we cut to him at night, laying back down for bed, and dog wakes him up in the middle of the night, and he goes like, "Oh, do you have to go?" And so he just walks downstairs. Which, of course, if you know your house and if you know nobody's around, of course you're just going to keep the lights off because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
For me, I just turn them on regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just walks around in the dark. All of a sudden, he gets hit, and there's just like these 3 assailants.
Yeah.
And they're just like beating the crap out of him. So when I first showed this to my wife, I said, "Hey, forewarned, there's a dog in it.
Here we go.
The dog dies."
Yeah.
And so she goes like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you told me about that, so I don't get super attached."
Thankfully,
she still cried.
Off screen, thankfully.
Yeah. So she still
I wasn't
cried
sure.
about it.
I couldn't remember. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's sad.
It's super depressing.
It's
because
worse after.
The dog is whining and stuff, and like all of a sudden they just stomp it out. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know if they got the dog to sleep or if they just used a little model there, but
I think they used
it looked
a model.
very real.
Yeah, I think that they just used a model for it. So
because nowadays they kind of don't do that. They kind of have a tendency to use CGI and stuff.
Yeah.
So that people will actually go see the movie because people won't see movies if a dog dies.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get my wife. As soon as the dog
dies, you're done.
I'm trying so hard to get my wife to watch Old Yeller. And I can't convince her. I'm like bargaining, like, well, if I watch this, will you watch it? She won't watch it with me.
I mean,
I can't do it.
That's the reason why that like me and my wife watched these, or she watched them with me, is because we bargained. She goes like, "Hey, if you watch this movie, I will watch John Wick for you."
A great part of marriage.
Like, okay. So, yeah, he basically gets beat up. They kill the dog, and they steal this car, and. When he wakes up, that is literally the first thing, and they purposefully did this to him. Where as soon as he wakes up, that's the first thing he sees. It's the dog.
Oh yeah, they like lined it up. Isn't there like a trail of blood?
Yeah, there's a trail of blood leading up to him,
Bunch
and
of jerks.
they just leave it right in front of his face. So that's the first thing he sees when he wakes up.
Golly.
And yeah, it's super messed up.
Man.
But then it cuts to him burying the dog in the backyard or something,
another
like
burial
or whatever.
Yeah,
and he has the
I must interject, and you can cut this part out.
Well, yeah.
The dog is in front of him because it dragged itself in front of him.
No.
There. Yes, the dog was
no.
That's why there's this, and it's laying in front of him. It probably dragged itself to be in front of him.
This is how it
so
starts.
It's even more depressing.
Grace is the third host. That's how it starts.
It was sick as fuck. I hate that shit. The dog like whimpering.
Yeah.
Dude.
I know.
Crawled over.
Yeah, I'm
the little
telling you.
beagle.
I noticed that the last time we watched it, I was like, oh my god.
It made its way.
It fucking crawled over there, dripping blood.
Yeah.
Woo.
Nope.
Super messed up.
Come on.
I think there's some Kleenex over there.
Yeah.
That was all.
Oh, okay.
So that dog is deed.
Yeah.
John Wick is pieced.
Yes. And we cut to the guys that stole the car, being the three Russian guys that we see in the gas station. They steal his car. They go up to Aurelio's, to a chop shop.
Yeah.
Or I think it's like a body shop.
Yeah, they're there to just like sell it.
No, they're there. So like once they get inside, Aurelio comes walking up.
Yeah.
And so like the main guy, Losif is his name. The main guy goes like, "Yeah, I think I'll keep it." And so he tells Aurelio,
there you go.
Yeah,
right.
he tells Aurelio, "Hey, I want new VIN numbers and I want a new plate." And he goes like,
so they regularly are stealing cars, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and to keep him in business and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but Aurelio comes walking up and he realizes like, whose car it is, and he goes like, "Where'd you get that car?"
Where'd you get that car?
And he goes like, "We took it. Like, why does it matter?" And he goes like, "No, you need to leave. Get the hell out of my shop right now."
Yeah.
And he goes like, "Did you just tell us to leave?"
Yeah.
Like
a little bit more of that, always necessary in a good action movie.
Yeah.
More of that alpha male testosterone. What'd you say?
Yeah. He goes like, "Did you just tell
Little
us
John
to leave?"
Leguizamo? What did you say to me?
He goes like, "Did you just lose your shit?" He goes like, "Don't forget, we own you." And he goes like, "You don't own me. I work with your father." And that's the difference. And so
little boy.
Yeah. And Aurelio hits him because he got pissed. And
it's a full-on punch, right? It's not even a slap.
It's not even a slap. It's a full-on punch. And one
Which,
of his
again,
guys
gives us a little bit more of a picture of this Yusuf guy. Like, he's kind of weak.
Yeah. And so, like, he's like a wannabe gangster type of guy and whatever. Like, not a wannabe gangster, but he tries to be a hard gangster is what it is.
If I get all my guys to hold this guy,
because he rolls with this guy that dresses like with a gold chain and like a hat and like a jacket, and like his other guy, he dresses in like nice suits. So you have that whole comparison between like, oh, this one's more of an enforcer, this one's more of like the gangster type of guy. And he's a combination of the two, essentially. And so one of his guys, like I mentioned, the guy with the hat, pulls out a gun on
a little bit more unleashed guy.
Yeah, and so he's all like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna come to my shop. You're gonna pull a gun on me. You might as well kill me right now if that's what it's gonna be." Then they leave.
Yeah.
And he goes like, "Oh yeah, like Vigo's not gonna like this." He goes like, "How do you know what Vigo likes and doesn't like? I'm gonna tell you what he understands."
Yeah.
He goes like, "Now get the hell out of my shop."
Right.
And so they leave, and Then, yeah, and then basically what happens is that...
Does he call Vigo? Is that like the first thing he does?
No, that happens after. So
See
John
getting
then
ready.
John starts cleaning up the blood on the floor,
Yeah, and that's an indicator. As I was watching, I'm like,
and he's pissed.
he's not going to call the police?
No,
What is going on here?
Yeah, and so like he's pissed. So he's cleaning up the
just-
blood, and he's pissed off, and
Done this before.
he goes into the garage. They throw this bat, the bat that they had that they basically beat John with.
And I assume like his wife's car.
Yeah, his
is like,
wife's,
okay, so let's
his wife's
damage
car.
Ryan's car as well.
They bashed the driver's side
Yeah.
window, and they also bashed like they basically
Yeah, it's sticking out.
stabbed the bat through the windshield.
Yeah.
And so he realized that his car is gone now. And
Yeah.
so he gets on the bus. He's still wearing the exact same shirt when he goes and see Aurelio too. He gets on the bus. He gets to Aurelio's and he asks him if it's here.
Yeah.
He goes like, it was. And then that's when all that stuff happens of him like
Again.
telling him to get to leave and whatever.
Yeah, more of the
And-
layers being picked back. Like,
Right.
so he knows Russian. He knows Aurelio.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Right. And so he
and
goes
and
like,
this is also really quick. This is where I started to get confused about the meaning of the movie.
mm-hmm.
The Everything Has a Price, which really just ties in because I feel like the main lesson of the movie that I think every man needs to hear and woman is don't mess with people.
No.
Because there's always someone who's stronger and better and smarter than you.
Right.
And you don't know if you're messing with John Wick.
Right.
You might mess with the first 15,
Yeah.
but number 16 might ruin your life
Yeah.
or kill you.
There's sometimes
and this is
too-
advice I've had to give to
Yeah.
other people. Like, you need to calm down.
Right,
The
there's-
day's going to come.
Yeah, there's some people that will like,
Everything has a price.
especially with like people that are UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Like, there's people
That's a
that
great example,
will
right?
go after specific people that are UFC fighters to like see if they're actually able to fight, and like those
videos are
they'll
funny.
get their shit rocked.
Yeah.
Because of it too.
Yeah.
So, but there's also some times where you're like people will be like in Taekwondo or whatever,
Yeah.
and like,
Sometimes it's fighting. Sometimes it's just you don't know the person's brain you're messing with.
right.
In this case, we see a very controlled John Wick who's super angry but super controlled, right?
Yeah.
But you could just be messing with somebody who's just not in their right mind and they have a gun. And that's, or even worse, in my opinion, a knife. Key lesson.
Yeah.
Don't mess with people.
Right.
Keep the peace.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Just mind your own business and that's it. Just keep moving. Like,
You have
don't
no
pay people
idea.
any mind, whatever. But yeah, so like we'll keep going. But he goes. So Aurelio asks John like, "What are you gonna do?" And he goes like, "I need a ride." And so he leaves and he goes back home. But then Vigo calls Aurelio, or rather Aurelio gets a call, and we find out that it is Vigo. And he goes like, "So I hear that you struck my son." May I ask why? He goes like, "Yeah, well, he stole John Wick's car, sir, and he killed his dog." And just immediately just turns towards the camera and he goes like, "Oh," and realizes it. And so Losov comes back from out of town,
Yeah.
and he goes upstairs and he sees his dad, and his dad pours himself and Losov a drink, and which is very awesome because Dean Winters, he's the mayhem guy from the Allstate commercials.
So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem like me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I weirdly,
that's the only reason why I mention him is because that he's the mayhem guy. So
Yeah, for my 30 Rock fans out there, that's actually where I know him is from 30 Rock as like a horrible boyfriend.
yeah.
But anyway, Dean Winters.
Yeah, and he goes like, how was the trip? And he goes like, oh yeah, they won't be bothering us or anything like that ever again. Basically alluding to the fact that like, he basically killed them and whatever. And so
Yeah, they're in the middle of some sort of deal that's very
they were.
important.
Yeah, because like before he gets there, because
And he can barely
Vigo
focus.
comes inside and he just has John Wick on the brain, and like the man like Dean Winters comes in and he goes like, "Hey sir, like we just struck this deal. Like it's good news." And he goes like, "Have you seen my son?" And then that's when Losov comes upstairs and stuff, and intimidating Losov. Vigo is, and he just like gives him a drink. Doesn't say anything to him either, because like when he walks up to him, he doesn't stop walking in front of him. He just keeps walking. Losov keeps backing up, and I'm like, that's intimidating right there.
He's upset.
He understands what's going on.
He's
and he goes like, "That's a nice jacket." He goes like, "Thanks," and freaking hits him right in the stomach.
The punch vomit.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's never happened to me.
Yeah,
They
and
punch so hard
both
that
of
you
them,
throw up.
Yeah, and both of them were like, and he goes like speaks to him in Russian, basically clean that up. And so he cleans it up, and he goes like, nobody saw anything. Like, we were like, nobody knows anything. He goes like, I'm not talking about what you did in Atlantic City.
Oh, right.
He goes like, what are you talking about then? He goes like, basically what you did to John Wick, essentially. And then we get the big, huge monologue of who John Wick is.
Yeah.
Which is so good.
Interspersed with... See, this is another one of those things that I was kind of talking about before. It's interspersed with John Wick using a sledgehammer to unbury.
Yes.
And it's really cool.
Yeah,
So
I love how
movie,
they cut this because it's so impactful for the character.
It's another one of those things where it's like, yes, it's a in a certain sense, it's a dumb action movie.
Yes.
But it's got some stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, he buries his wife, he buries Daisy,
Yeah.
and now
The
he's
dog.
unburying his old life.
Right.
It's like, these had to go into the ground, love had to go into the ground so that the hatred could come out.
Yeah.
It's kind of great.
Because,
it's kind of Shakespearean.
Yeah,
or something.
because while Vigo is telling Losif about who John Wick is,
it's interspersed.
While this is happening, John goes downstairs into his basement and he moves some stuff around and he takes out this rug and he has a sledgehammer and he just starts bashing away at the concrete. And it's awesome.
It's not a door. He buried his life.
Yeah. And so Vigo is telling Losif like, he settled down, he wanted to get out of this life, and I gave him an impossible task. Mm-hmm. The bodies that he buried that day is the foundation of what we have now. And he goes like, oh. And he goes like, yep. So you basically picked a fight with the wrongest person that you could ever come across.
Yeah. The person that you benefited from.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, because he tells him like,
he basically tells him like,
we call him the
Baba
Yaga.
You're gonna die.
Right.
Like,
he goes like, you are like, he goes like, he's the Baba Yaga.
You're dead. The Baba Yaga.
And he goes like, the boogeyman? He goes like, well, John isn't exactly the boogeyman. He's the one that you call to kill the fucking boogeyman.
He was the one you sent to kill the fucking boogeyman.
And this is the characteristic.
And it's so good.
Yeah, because I haven't seen 2, 3, and 4, but my understanding is that this is the this is the picture of the characteristic of these movies. You think that it's this bad, but they always take it a little bit further.
Yeah.
He's not the boogeyman, he's the guy you send to kill the boogeyman.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I mean, we already saw that. Like, the wife is dead, and then they kill his dog.
Yeah.
And they steal his car.
Right.
Just they always go a little further.
You stole the car, and like that would have been fine, I feel like. But the fact that you killed the dog, like that's, you're just taking that
as a
away
viewer,
from
you're like, too far, man.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but
Baba Yaga.
Yeah, so he calls him Baba Yaga, and then he is still explaining to who John is. And he goes like, he's a man of focus.
Right.
He's all of these things, which you are not. And then Losif basically comes back and he goes like, Father, I can make this right. Like and he goes like, oh, how do you plan on doing that? He goes like, by finishing what I started. He goes like, didn't you just hear a fucking word I just said? And like, because he also tells him the story
he's like,
of like, I once killed, like, I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
With a pencil.
A pencil.
I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
A pencil.
And it's just like, oh, it's so good. And it's awesome. Like, you need to see the second one for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
good. And that's totally...
Or no, like that part happens in the third one. But you need to watch it. It's just so good.
I can't say this for sure, but I know that because I know that Derek Kolstad wrote the script, but if you're comparing it with other people, like if you're comparing it with like The Bourne Identity,
right?
He doesn't kill him, but he defends himself with a pen.
Yeah.
And then over here in John Wick, he's like, he killed them.
With
3 with a pencil. You're
well,
like,
I remember,
okay, they're just trying to be the best action movie.
Yeah, I remember in Bourne Ultimatum, he like kills a guy with a book. So like
he drops some knowledge.
Yeah, he drops some knowledge on him, dude. And that's what John Wick does in Chapter 4. I think it's Chapter
4. The book again.
Yeah. No, it's Chapter 3. Anyway,
that's awesome.
But so now John unearths this case that has weapons,
Guns and
gold
coins.
and it's awesome. And you're like, what the hell?
What's he-
Like, what is happening
You
here?
gonna go to the arcade? What's going on here?
Right.
This is dumb.
And Vigo calls John. He goes like, "Hey, I heard about your wife. Sorry, whatever."
That's
And
great.
He's like, John does not say a word
Silence.
while he's on the phone. He's just like, "All right." And
What did he
he
say?
basically
Enough.
and so he basically just goes like, "Let's not go back to our basic instincts," and just hangs up the phone because he's pleading to him, "Hey, let's not resort to this, okay? Like, my son fucked up. I understand this. I
Yeah.
want to make this right." But before he can even say any of that, John just hangs up the phone. And then David Wencher just goes like, "Oh, what did he say?" He goes like, "Enough."
Enough.
He just didn't
Which
say a
was
word.
nothing.
He's just like, "Enough." That's it. Just didn't have to say anything.
We know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And because let me see, going through my notes. Oh, but yeah, John gets ready. Oh, yeah, John gets all suited up and whatever. And, well, actually, Vigo asks, "How many men do you have?" He goes,
Okay,
"How many do you need?" He goes, like, "Just send them all."
Yeah.
And there's these guys that are going to come into his house and basically kill him. And
we
so,
know later that they send 12.
Right.
Because it's what is it?
He
Dinner
says, "I want a
reservation for
dinner
12
reservation
or
for
something.
12.
So we know it's 12 now. But at the
Yeah.
time, you're like, how many
guys
guys
is
start
this?
coming into his house?
Yeah. And he is like just wearing this black tux.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, Vigo is also talking about this nursery rhyme about Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Which I actually have it written down here. It's like,
Here we go.
"Hurry, fall asleep, or the boogeyman will come for you. From the swamp he will come and take the children that don't behave." And then he just ends it with Baba Yaga.
And then another guy walks in and shoots that guy. And that's
Yeah.
John Wick. Just
Right.
kidding.
And like
Keep in mind, we're about to get this scene.
the first action scene.
It's been 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking, I was like, they did all of that in 29 minutes.
Right. It's
And
not
now
even a
we're-
half hour yet.
we don't have to wait till the end of the movie to get like a full John Wick
Backstory.
at his most John Wick.
Right. It's
Like,
just
you get
right
to
there.
see him killing fast, just being John Wick.
Yeah.
Like, right there at the end of like Act 1. And
Yeah.
you're like, yes.
This is just like
I
a
hope
small
this continues
taste.
to pay off. And
Right.
It's like,
It's a
it
small
does.
taste of his skills.
It does.
Because it definitely pays off. But yeah, these guys come in, not really super detailed about it. He just basically like does gun fu essentially.
Yeah.
Just basically beats them up. And I also realized this too, that somebody also pointed out on the podcast I was listening to about this, was that they noticed that what his skill set is that he doesn't just like try to shoot them anyway. No,
Yeah.
if he can't shoot them in the head, he will shoot them like in the leg or like in the shoulder to
Yeah.
basically get a more clean shot to get him in the head.
He's about, like, in a zombie world, John Wick is fine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He is making sure kill dead, or what's the kill shot?
Yeah,
Kill shot every time.
yep. And so like I
He doesn't
realized
mess
that
around.
after watching this, I'm like, you know what? He does do that. He'll shoot somebody in the foot or in the leg and subdue them so that way they can't go after him
Yeah.
anymore while he's doing stuff to this other guy.
He does,
Shoot
yeah.
him in the head and then shoot this other guy in the head because now he's down on the ground.
Yeah.
Now it's easier for him to actually kill him.
Just
I'm like, that's awesome.
perfect controlled chaos
Yeah.
all the time.
So
That's great.
he gets through all these guys. He gets into a knife fight with the last guy in the hallway.
Oh my
and, like
gosh.
just stabs him. And
Right
then-
after he breaks somebody's neck on the kitchen
Yeah,
island.
he basically does the FU bomb.
He makes him
on,
he does a little Pez dispenser situation going on there.
He has his head hanging off the side of the counter and just boom, and it's just like
Just
breaks his neck. I'm
cracks
like,
up.
oh, it's so cool.
So bananas.
And so
yeah, that last
after the stabbing,
knife,
he looks
hammer.
up and there's red and blue lights at the door.
Yeah.
And he goes to the door
Yeah.
and it's police officer Jimmy. And
Who is great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's
I love
hilarious in
Jimmy.
this scene.
He goes like, "Hey John."
Working
Or-
again?
Yeah, he goes like, "Evening, John." He goes like, "Evening, Jimmy." He goes like, "Noise complaint, noise complaint," and he
There's a
looks
dead body.
and he looks over and he
He's just dead.
takes off his hat and he goes like, "You working again?" He goes like, "No, I just sorting some stuff out." He goes like, "All right,
All right, man."
I'll leave you to it then." He goes like, "Night, John." He goes like, "Night, Jimmy." Like,
Yeah.
it's so good. And then he calls for the dinner reservation for 12.
You working again? No, just sorting some stuff out.
And
Yeah.
he takes a little pile of gold coins. and these cleaners come over to
Right.
like, wrap up the dead bodies and put them in the trunk. And he goes like the old guy. He goes like he basically tells him like, and I thought that and I fear that you'd leave this all behind, and doesn't say a word. And like John never says a word to him.
Yeah.
And he pays them in gold coins, and he goes like, hope to see you again, John. He goes like, good night, and just like they leave. And
I was trying to find like a compilation of just every time that John Wick speaks in the first movie. Unfortunately, it's not out there.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to see because he's just so many times
like just
doesn't say anything.
Yeah, just intercuts, like just dialogue
or the silence. Just
silence of the phone. Just
so you doing it again,
right? And then of course, like if I don't remember, I'll cut in clips too because it's super good. But yeah, so Dean Winters comes back and he goes to Vigo and he just goes like, "Hey, he killed all of them." He goes like, "Yeah, that's to be expected."
Yeah,
and he goes like, talks about something about leading the wolf to the hen house or something like that in Russian. And whenever Dean Winters is in the room with him, he goes like, "Vigo, English, please." And he goes like, "Put a contract out for John Wick for $2 million." He goes like, "All right." And John packs up his bags and he goes to the Continental. And so now, because like he's in New Jersey, so he makes his way over across the bridge to go to New York.
Okay.
Because that's where the Continental is. And Vigo goes to see Marcus to basically go like, "Hey, I have this contract for John Wick." He goes like, "Is the contract exclusive?" He goes like, "No, it's open, but it's a timely matter, so I want you to deal with it first."
Yeah.
He goes like, "Well, I have a phone." He goes like, "Well, I wanted you to do this in person though."
Yeah.
And
so you're getting a little bit of that pressure.
Yeah. And you realize that Marcus was also in the same line of work as John Wick.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. So he takes out his guns and he starts looking at it.
And he
like,
very quickly accepts.
Yeah.
Which I think
like,
later in the movie that really emphasizes his friendship
Yeah.
with John, because you're like, oh, he immediately was like, he probably,
I'll do it.
these guys, they know what they're doing. They've thought everything through.
Right.
He probably, as soon as this happened, he was like, oh, if that ever happens, if it's somebody that I care about, I'll just accept it, and then I'll just not do it.
Right. Because like later on we find out that he's actually helping John.
Yeah.
Throughout
Which is
the
awesome.
course of the movie. In certain parts that happen.
Yeah.
And then of course we'll get to that later. But yeah, so John gets to the Continental, he checks in, and Miss Perkins, which is her name, like they just call her Miss Perkins.
Yeah.
We don't know her first name, she's just Miss Perkins. She goes like, "Hey, good seeing you, John." Goes like, "Perkins." Walks up
That's another one.
Yeah.
That's another alien robotic. He's just like,
Perkins.
The way he says it is so stupid.
Good seeing you again, John.
Perkins.
Anyway, continuing.
And,
so funny. The Continental, quite a vibe.
Yeah.
Quite a vibe. Something, yeah.
And
they maintain that.
And it's the iron building in New York. It's the one that looks like the iron, like when you're ironing clothes.
Oh, that's a thing?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think that's what people dubbed it as, because it looks like a giant like iron.
Oh, okay.
For it. So
yeah.
But yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, so like that, and like that building is synonymous with everything that happens in New York. It's in The Boys. It's in Spider-Man. Like, it's in other shows and movies that are based in New York.
They used it well because you immediately get this Lorish vibe.
Yeah.
This really cool vibe with the Continental, and I haven't seen the other movies, but in this movie they do a great job of just maintaining. They never let up on that weird vibe of like, you don't know what's going on here, but you know, but you have no idea what's going on.
You know what's happening, but at the same time you don't, because like when I watched back this movie, and as well as like all the rest of the movies, as you know more about the Continental and stuff, you come to ask like, is this just like a regular hotel that people can stay at, or is this just for assassins that are
it feels like it's for
or what
assassins?
So I feel
I'm not
like
sure,
because like it's just called the Continental.
Mm-hmm.
It's not called like the Four Seasons where everybody could just stay at.
Yeah,
like obviously if you have money, but regardless. So he checks into his room and he's asking Lance Riddick, who's the manager.
Yeah.
He goes like, "Hey, like when did the new place get a facelift?" He goes like, "About 4 years ago." He's like, "Oh, it's the same owner?" He goes like, "Yeah, it's the same owner." He goes like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
God, like, you had me spooked for a second there. So, yeah, but he checks in, and he goes, like, yeah, I have you for 2 nights. Is that right? He goes, like, yeah, depending on business, it might be longer. Like, okay. Pays him with a gold coin.
Yeah.
The second time that somebody pays with a gold coin.
Yeah.
Because Vigo also, when he goes to call John, he opens up his safe. He has gold coins on top of the shelf, and he goes down to the bottom. He just has regular cash on hand.
Yeah.
And then he's also got, like, his little book. And, like, that's how he calls John. It's like, he takes out the book, he, like, dusts off some dust. And I'm like, assuming he hasn't used this for a while.
Yeah.
So, because he's a mob boss now and stuff. So, but.
Yeah, the gold coin, what a lovely, I love the coin thing.
Yeah.
It's such a tip of the hat.
It's such a niche thing,
just
too.
Western.
It's so cool.
It's almost like Westerns. I remember, I won't say his name, I remember one comedian making fun of this idea of, like, the Old West, like, I'm going to need food, I'm going to need a horse, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that. Ping! It just drops like a single coin. It's that Wild West mentality of just, like, 1 coin to clean up the body, 1 coin to get the room and anything I need.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's more about the context of the coin being given, I think,
Right.
than the value of the coin, and I've always thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah. The coin's a cool idea.
Oh, yeah. I really love the fact that they used gold coins as their currency, too.
Yeah. And
with
with the one that with that thing coming in, aren't you getting, like, a coin with that or something? So you're just going to have a coin.
Yeah. I
have to be careful.
I bought another steel book.
You can clean up my body. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll
I
find
bought
out.
a steel book. It's a box set of the first movie because they re-released it again for the Dolby Atmos.
Oh, nice.
Sound system. And so with that, you get a little commemorative coin. You get a little like stand that you can stand your steelbook up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's super good.
Sick.
When I get it, like, and it's actually going to be here early. So, because I bought it yesterday, it said it was going to be here on Wednesday. Now it's going to be here on Monday, and it's going to be awesome. So I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Excellent.
I can't wait to have it in my steelbook collection of John Wick movies. I have another one, but I just couldn't fit on the table. But that's your guys.
Yeah, put it somewhere.
But yeah, so, like, we'll keep going. So John makes his way downstairs into, like, where they have, like, the cleaning stuff. So, like, where they're doing the laundry and everything. And he goes to this door. He puts a gold coin in. They open up the door, and it's a club of like all the different assassins and stuff. He goes and sees Winston.
Right.
Talks to him. The thing that Winston tells him too is, like, you so much as dip a pinky back into this pond, something's gonna come up. It's gonna grab you and it's gonna pull you down into the darkest depths of the lake.
Yes.
And you're never going to escape again.
Yeah.
And that is basically what happens throughout the next 3 movies.
It's interesting. Oh, that's cool.
Like,
okay.
He thinks he's done, but something keeps pulling him back into it, and, like, it just keeps going. So
it's interesting because it shows, like, oh no, did we lose Mr. Wick?
No, we lost.
It shows the duality of justice, because in the ordered world, which this is not, this is the underground. But in the above ground world, you know, if you commit a whole bunch of crimes, you get to that point where it's like, if you get a speeding ticket, you're going to prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's just funny how that system, it's just as evident in the underworld. It's like, you've done a lot of stuff. If you do one thing, it's going to blow up. I'm trying to be your wise guide here.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just that. It was the fact that he goes, like, you left this life behind. If you start coming back, you're not going to be able to leave again. That's what he was talking about.
Point. Everything has a price.
Yeah. So.
And what's funny too, I have to say, this actor Ian McShane, he's been in a whole bunch of stuff, but for whatever reason, I've just missed him.
Right.
Like, I've never watched movies with him in it, except for Hot Rod.
Yeah.
So anytime I see him, he's supposed to be this big tough guy, but I always just think about Hot Rod anytime I see him. So it just cracks me up, just like, I am going to get you better. Then I'm going to beat you to death.
I am going to get you better. And then I'm going to beat you to death. You couldn't beat a drum.
I just see this guy who gets better and he's hit at the end of the movie and poops his pants.
Hey.
Like, that's who I see. But he's been like this super, like, tough guy in all these movies.
Yeah.
And he's great in this.
Yeah.
I love him.
Sorry, I was yelling at my cat because he's ripping up the carpet.
Yeah. Come on now.
We need to stop it.
These cats are out of control.
Yeah. But yeah, so, like, he talks to Winston and he goes, like, I need to find out where Losif is. And he goes, like, you know, that's what he tells him, you know, like, so much as dip a pinky back, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he goes up to the bar. He goes like, well, I suggest you go get a drink. Sit down, relax.
Has another weird alien interaction with the bartender.
Yeah, and so like he tells Winston, he goes like, it's personal, and then walks away. And then he goes up to the bar. The lady,
personal,
super hot, the bartender, she comes up and so she goes like, oh my God, John, you're back.
Yeah.
Like, how's life on the other side? And he goes like, oh, it was great. Like, it's far better than I deserved.
Yeah.
And she goes like, oh, do you want the usual? And he goes like, yeah, which is bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And so she sets down the glass.
Mm-hmm.
On the napkin, he goes to take a drink. There's something written on the napkin, and it's
I don't even think he takes a sip.
No, he doesn't. He takes a sip when he goes to
He's
Aurelio's.
ready to go.
Yeah.
He
takes a sip at Aurelio's, and then that's it. That's the only time he ever drink. Well, no, and like later on, he does take another drink of bourbon.
And I do have to say, this is the scene where, when he was talking to that bartender, this is the scene where I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to see a movie with, John Wick and Michael Scarn from The Office, because there's like a scene in Threat Level Midnight in The Office where he's asked the question, he's like, I'm retired. Yeah. It's so close to the same thing here. She's like, how's it going? He's like, I'm retired.
Yeah.
It's so funny, man. But anyway.
Yeah. So he finds out that Losif is at the Red Circle, because that's what Vigo also said. He goes like, well, like lead the wolf to the hen house. So he wants to get his son into a setting to where John will actually go after him.
I'm so sorry. I have a comment about that too. That cracks me up. So Vigo with John Wick, he's kind of like, when it comes to John Wick, he's kind of like that guy who shows up with a group of people and they want to tell you something, but they want to be asked. And he keeps doing that with John Wick. He's like, do it so that the wolf comes out. He's like, who's the wolf? He's like, John Wick.
Yeah.
And then later in the car, he like says something along the line of like, that's not what John Wick would do. It's like, Vigo, do you want somebody to ask you about John Wick? I feel like you want somebody.
You keep mentioning him. Do you want us to ask you questions?
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? It's like, dude,
no,
I get it. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even care. Yeah. English, please. English.
Right.
So.
But
Vigo cracks me up.
He finds out that he's at the Red Circle, which is like this nightclub. And so
Here we go.
John goes to the nightclub.
The nightclub scene.
This is another great scene. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Scene.
But so like he goes in and it's cutting back to John coming up and then Losif with his bodyguards. Because he's downstairs in the bathhouse in a pool.
Yeah.
With girls and like one of his guys. And he is just like chilling out. He's like drinking and stuff. Mm-hmm. And like bodyguards are going like, hey, level 1 clear, level 2 clear, blah, blah, blah. And they're all speaking to each other in Russian. Mm-hmm. And so the head honcho of the bodyguards comes down and Losif goes like, come on, like join us, like blah, blah, blah. And he goes like, I didn't come here to babysit a drunkard.
Yeah, if you knew what was really going on, you wouldn't be sitting around acting happy and
right.
Like,
and so like, he takes the bottle of champagne
this dude's tough.
Yeah,
this dude's tough.
He takes the bottle of champagne away from him, and he goes like, "Are you scared of the boogeyman? Because I'm not." He goes like, "No, but you should be," and just walked away. Yeah. And then he gets mad about that because he got scolded in front of like these hot girls and like his boy, and he goes, like, "I want another bottle. Go get me some more.
Another bottle.
Go get me some more bottle.
I want another bottle.
Baby wants his bottle."
Oh man.
And like this is so freaking awesome the way that John gets in, because he comes out of the darkness behind the big huge dude.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but he was like a wrestler.
Yeah.
And so he points a gun up to the back of his head.
They obviously know each other.
Yeah, and so like they're speaking to each other in Russian as well as English. And
hey man, you want to sit this one out?
Yeah, and he goes like, "Hey, like,
thanks, man."
He asks John. He goes like, "Are you working tonight?" And he goes like, "I'm afraid so." And he goes like, "All right,
take a night off, take a sick day."
Yeah, and he goes like
Sam?
"All right." He goes like, "I think you should take the rest of the night off." And he goes like, "Thank you, sir."
Yeah,
and
that was
walked
cool.
Away. And I'm just like, he understands.
Well, that guy looks scary, and he's thanking him.
Right, because like he follows, which we find out his name is Victor.
Okay.
The nicely dressed dude in the suit.
Oh, the tough dude?
Yeah.
The guy downstairs, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was the guy that was dressed in the suit with Losef.
Yeah.
He's one of his guys.
Oh, that's one of the guys, right?
Yeah.
Right. The more controlled one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more clear-headed guy.
Yeah.
And not the enforcer. And so for him, like John sees him go into this like side room, and that's where John goes into, and that's where he has that banter with that bodyguard. But he comes in, and Victor is like in a bathrobe, just like, you know, doing stuff with his teeth.
Oh,
like,
right.
He's flossing his teeth in the mirror and stuff, and I don't know why
Kills
he's
a guy
like,
in the background.
Yeah, he kills a guy because like he looks over and then like the door is just swinging, and he goes like, oh, all right, whatever, and like there's a guy behind him in the mirror, and he just like stabs him in the neck, and then just like doesn't see him, but he just sees the guy just like slumped over.
He sees the dude there with the
and
blood on the wall.
What? And he looks over. John's just right there, and then he goes like, "Where's Losef?" He goes like, "Fuck you." Breaks his leg.
Oh, right.
And then he like, before he kills him, he goes like, "Where?" Like he's strangling him, and he goes like, "Where is he?" And he goes like, "He's downstairs, penthouse, or the bathhouse."
Is this?
It sounds like he's saying penthouse.
He gets hit.
Says bathhouse.
He gets hit in the naughty bits, doesn't he? I think
I
he
don't.
does here.
I think it was. I think he gets hit in the naughty bits. It
I heard
looked
a
like
crunch
that
noise.
He got, yeah,
there was a crunch.
I thought he broke his leg, but I don't think he did. I think he just got kicked in the balls.
Okay, because I felt it. That's why I wondered.
So I think that's what happened.
I don't know if people know. Guys have a sense.
Yeah.
Things
You
like
can
this happen.
feel it.
You go like,
you have a mystery.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think I just saw what I saw.
Right. So, but yeah,
Mysterious power.
Yeah. So he tells him, and he goes like, "You took my car and you killed my dog," and so like he bashes his head on the counter, and then he drowns him in the sink.
Right.
And then he snaps his neck.
Just to make sure.
Yeah.
John Wick kill.
And he makes his way into the bathhouse, and he starts killing a bunch of these bodyguards one by one, just by stabbing them and stuff. And
I don't know the kill count of the nightclub, but yeah.
It's a lot.
In the end of the movie, it's 77, but yeah, I don't know how many here.
Well,
it's a lot.
Before the movie, when it started at the event, it was 73.
Oh, really?
Like
73?
on-screen kills.
Yeah, okay.
So he might have killed more, but on-screen it was 73 that we see. And he goes to like the guy that's supposed to be like clearing the level, because like it's this old bald dude, and so he goes to try to stab him, and like of course he stops him, and he finally like, you know, gets him, so he shoves the knife up his mouth, and like he holds his mouth so that he doesn't scream, slowly coming down, and like not even blinking, just watches the life slowly drain from his eyes. I'm like, that's hardcore. And
it's
then
like, this is the way John
operates.
This is how, what would you say? This is how tapped in he is to murder.
Yeah.
Like he is there fully.
Oh yeah.
It's not like some afterthought.
No.
And this is important because this is him. He's coming back to it.
Yeah.
And we'll see more of that in a second. Yeah.
Right. And then another guy comes in, and then he goes to pull out his gun. He quickly runs over and like, you know, kills him. Well, he doesn't kill him because then they get into a tussle, smash into some like furniture.
Yeah.
And then Losef knows that he's there. And,
yeah,
like,
he kills a lot of guys, and he gets
they're wrestling and stuff, and then they find him on the security cameras. They're like, okay, he's in the bathhouse. We need to go.
Yeah.
And
but that one guy, I don't know his name. The tough dude, the guy that ends up fighting him twice.
Yeah.
He's like clearly the other toughest guy in the entire movie.
Right.
Yeah, he's down there.
Yeah.
And that's the first moment where you're like, ooh,
yeah,
this guy's
he's pretty good.
A challenger.
The challenger approaches.
He is not Yusuf.
Yeah. And so he takes out his gun, and he sees Losef.
He sees him.
And doesn't even blink. Just like aims the gun at him, points it down, shoots the bodyguard in the head, does not lose eye contact whatsoever. Yeah. And Losef's like, oh shit.
But he doesn't kill him.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't kill him.
But he does go to like shoot at him, and right before he's about to, this big, huge like bodybuilder dude, which I don't even know who he is. I don't know if he's a random guy.
Oh yeah, that
he's
huge
like,
guy.
Yeah, because then like he's just there, and he's just like trying to get the gun away from John, and John smashes his foot, shoots him a few times, and then shoots him in the head, and then he falls back into the pool, and Losef goes running away, and then he brings out his actual Glock that he uses.
Okay.
Which I did do some research on the guns that he uses, but it's a Glock 34.
Are those all the guns?
These are all the guns that he's used throughout the movie.
Oh, in all the movies. Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
but the one that he uses in the first one is his primary weapon.
Glock
It
34.
says is the 9mm handgun. It has a long slide barrel for improved accuracy. Super,
right. The
super
little thing.
clean. It's such a good gun.
Yeah.
But he takes it out because, like, I noticed this. He has his little gun that he uses with his left hand, but he uses his Glock with his right, which is very surprising to me.
What a jerk.
So, but he goes to like try to kill Losif, and then the bodyguards come in, like they're shooting at him. We have a shootout in the nightclub.
This moment with, and I don't know, I thought it was Yosef, but maybe it's Listen. This moment with Yosef, is this kind of like an indicator for later where, because we have the famous scene later where he's like, a lot of people are asking if I'm back.
Yeah.
Is this kind of that thing of like, I can't tell if this is like a grief thing or if it's like, I'm not back yet. Because when he looks at him, he doesn't shoot him.
Right.
And I'm like, I wonder, at first I thought it was, well, maybe he's just like not fully back to 100% yet, and that's why he didn't take the shot.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking it's actually both. It's that, and it's also grief. It's like,
Yeah.
as soon as I kill him,
It's done.
my
So-
destination is finished.
Right.
And I'm pissed.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of paused for a moment, almost like he was like, I'm not ready yet.
I
and
think
that's why
it's-
later it's
Yeah.
so quick, because
Yeah.
he's like, he's back.
Right. I think
He's
it's
like, bam.
probably because of the fact that like he wanted to scare him of going like
Okay.
like this is my domain.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
Especially
who
with what you said, with the
Yeah.
way that he shoots that guy while looking at him.
Yeah.
It's like, I want you to be so scared.
Yeah. Because he wants.
You've taken
him to
everything
fear.
from me.
Yeah. And so Losif like runs through the nightclub in a towel. So he's like running through the nightclub. And like when I was watching this in the theater and that nightclub scene was going on, and like they started playing the music, I'm like, because like there's 5 people in total in this theater. There's me and my wife. There's this other couple that's in the row in front of us, and then there's a guy by himself a few rows down.
Yeah.
And so like I'm in the background just like dancing to this like nightclub scene, and I'm just like, yeah, let's freaking go. Like
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
And like we have a shootout in the nightclub, and
Yeah.
Losif goes like, there he is, go get him. And he makes his way through these people that are in the nightclub and just shooting all these bad guys, and goes through these double doors. Losif runs outside and he gets away, but John is dispensing of all these different bodyguards. And like, and I will cut to a clip of this because this is the first time that this happens. So how in these other movies, how he kicks out the magazine, like if he has a pistol, he kicks it out and then he reloads.
Right.
He does it in this movie though, and it's very brief.
It is brief.
It's very.
I was looking for it.
Yeah.
And I think I missed it.
Yeah, it's in this part when
Yeah.
he's just right outside the dance floor
Yeah.
in kind of like the main lobby looking area, because he has a guy that's like he runs out of ammo.
Yeah.
And so like he goes to kill the guy up against the pillar, and he kicks it out and then he reloads it, but it's super quick because you don't realize it.
I didn't even see it.
And so like
I
I
was
was
looking
like,
for
wait,
it.
is it this part? So I rewound it. I'm
Yeah.
like, it is this part. This is when he first does
That's
it. And because like throughout the rest of the movie, he just like kicks out the magazine and then he just like loads it like normal.
Which is a
But
big deal.
that's the only part that he does it in.
Because he was trained by like Navy SEALs and other people.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What did you just do?"
Yeah, and
like
he
Navy
coins that.
SEAls
Yeah.
were like,
wait,
"Oh,
what?"
That's
And he goes
cool.
like, "Yeah, it's faster to reload it this way because you kick it out and then you just like are ready to put the magazine
Keanu's
back
got
in."
it, man.
Yeah, and like that's now I think people are trained on how to do that now because of Keanu Reeves,
Which is a
again,
foreshadowing
awesome.
of later on when these other movies came out.
Yeah.
They came out with those videos
It's
of him
so
going through the
good.
shooting
Yeah.
gallery, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, don't mess with Keanu Reeves."
Yeah,
Don't mess with Bill.
He went to a shooting range and like
Ted.
I thought it was awesome because he actually went to a shooting range and all the weapons that they used, he used all of them.
Yeah.
So that way he knew how to react because of course like they're all filled with blanks. But
Well, so I was listening to one, and I guess they're not. The reason that they're not, well, I thought they were too. I don't know anything about guns and movies. But they had to do CGI for everything.
Right.
Because with John Wick, he shoots people so close.
Right.
That if they use blanks, people would get hurt.
Right.
So they had to do that, and I was like, I kind of love that. I kind of love that because of his shooting style. It's like, we actually had to do CGI. We had to do CGI blood, but it saved them like hours and hours and hours of time of redress and everything.
Right.
So that's really the only way that we get John Wick in this movie is because with CGI. So you just got to kind of let that go.
Right.
But also just, it looks great.
Applause,
So who cares?
It's great. But yeah, so like he's dispensing of all these bad guys, and he goes upstairs, and we have the main head honcho of the bodyguards, and he gives John Wick a run for his money because
tough dude.
They're fighting hand-to-hand combat because now they both don't have any ammo, and otherwise he would have just dispensed of him real freaking quick. But otherwise, like he's doing hand-to-hand combat, and the guy grabs a bottle and goes to hit John with it, but he blocks it with his arm, but then he stabs him in the side with it. And then he like picks him up and he throws him down off the balcony onto the floor, and then he grabs his little gun and then like he shoots at him.
Which this is a part of his fighting, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of Bruce.
It's basically called.
It's kind of Bruce Lee-ish.
Yeah, it's
because he's not a big guy. Like John Wick's not a big guy, so he uses his body weight. What's it called?
Gun fu.
Gun fu. Well, the gun fu.
Yeah.
But also the way that he uses his body weight. It's a little bit of that, like Cowboy Bebop, that your body's water.
Yes.
He uses it because, there's these guys that he's just not as big as. Obviously, he has his gun most of the time, but when he gets into these moments, he definitely throws people on the ground. Like, there are multiple times where I'm like, did he just take down John Wick? It's like, oh no, he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But this throw, my goodness, this fall. I watched it, I think, like 5 times, and I was like, oh!
Yeah.
Oh! Because it's so bad. And it's like, this is something I wanted to bring up. There's things in movies, there's gore in movies sometimes, and sometimes with certain people, they're like, that looks so fake, it looks so stupid.
Yeah.
But, I don't know about you. I've had experiences where when America, not America, but there's specifically when the Syria stuff was going on, I felt bad about it. And back when Reddit was a lot less, policed. Yeah. I was like, I hear about these videos all the time. I hear about people like chopping people's heads off and being like, America, screw you. Yeah. Like, I gotta know. And so I like watched a couple. Yeah. And I was just like, it's not like, oh my gosh, movies are so much more realistic than I thought. That's exactly how it looks. Right. And this fall is very much like that. I had to 5 take it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I was like, it looks so. But the more I watched it, I was like, that's how it would look. Yeah. If someone was thrown off like a 20-foot balcony. Yeah. It is painful.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, John manages to escape, and he goes outside, and because he stole Victor's phone after he killed him, and because he figured that Losif was going to call him too. Right. And so Losif goes like, Victor, like, are you safe? Are you okay? He was like, Victor's dead. Everything has a price. And like just throws the phone on the ground and breaks it. So he goes to the Continental, and he goes like, hey, is the doctor in? To Lance Riddick, and he goes like, yeah. And he goes like, how good's your laundry? And he goes like, I'm afraid it's not that good. He goes like, all right. He's like, I thought not. And he goes like, might I suggest bourbon when you go upstairs? And he goes like, yeah, I think that's well comfortable. So the doctor,
I have no idea, by the way, what's going on here. It's like, is it actually just bourbon, or is there something special in the bourbon?
No,
that
it's
helps
just
with
bourbon.
The time? It's just bourbon. Okay.
Yeah, it's just bourbon.
I'm
because
like they've got me there. I'm getting all kinds of confused.
Because like when the doctor sews up his wound in his side from the stabbing of the glass bottle, he he goes like, so what kind of movement am I looking at? And the doctor goes like, well, if you're looking to heal, very minimal.
Don't do anything.
Yeah, but he goes like, but if you're just like,
Pop
if you still
pills.
if you got business to do still, and you're going to move around a lot, like your stitches will tear, but otherwise, like take a couple of these before anything, and like you'll be fine. Yeah. Like you'll still be able to move freely without hindering like the wound. And he goes like, you need anything for the pain? He goes like, no, I got that covered with the bourbon. So, but he goes to sleep, and Willem Dafoe is up on the roof across the street with the sniper, and so he sees Perkins coming in. He shoots the pillow right next to him, and he goes like, what? So he rolls over off the bed, and the reason for this is because that he wanted John not to just basically get capped
Yeah.
while he's asleep.
It's a little mini twist there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
he's helping him.
cool.
So,
I don't think he missed, you know.
No, he didn't purposefully miss. He meant to do that.
Definitely not, you know. But in the moment, you're like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
Oh, he's helping him.
So,
and we're like an hour and 18 in now, so we don't want to speed up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so then they fight. And
she's a fun character for sure.
But yeah, so like they fight, and then John basically knocks her out, and I thought this was also super funny that when they're fighting, Lance Reddick is calling him, and so like you just hear the phone ringing, and it just cuts to Lance Reddick just sitting there on the phone, just waiting for a response. And then after the fight, he finally picks up the phone. He goes like, "Yeah, we had a number of complaints of the noise coming from your room." He goes like, "Sorry, I was dealing with an unwanted house guest."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, will you be needing a dinner reservation?" He goes like, "No, I don't think so. At least."
Yeah.
So,
and one of the key points here is that Vigo, you know, kind of like Batman Arkham Origins with Black Mask, he's put a bounty on his head. It's $2 million, but in the Continental, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do any business on Continental.
He adds another $2 million.
Right.
That's why Perkins is there. Yeah. And this matters because later on, there's a big payoff there that I always forget about because you're kind of like, what's up with this character? Like, you're gonna lose. It's John Wick. I don't care. But then you get to the end of the movie, you're like, ooh, that was kind of fresh.
Yeah, yeah, because you're not supposed
she gets in trouble.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to do business on Continental grounds because it's supposed to be a level playing field. You're not supposed to kill anybody or conduct business on there.
But this is where we get that great exchange with Harry.
Yeah,
which annoys me because he doesn't make it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to see more movies with Harry. Does he come back at all? Any flashbacks?
No,
I love Harry.
Unfortunately, no. They just had him as like a throwaway character. It feels like because he goes like he pulls a gun on John from the back and he goes like, "Do I know you?" And he goes
he's like, "Oh,
I
hey
think
John."
So. He goes like, "Oh, it's John."
Hey John. Like, hey Harry.
Hey Harry.
This is another one of those. You don't know what's going on at the Continental.
But
you
everybody
knows what's going on
because everybody knows John Wick.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Because of course that's how he gets dubbed Baba Yaga. But yeah, so he goes like, "Hey, like, are you keen on earning a coin?" He goes like, "Yeah," and he goes like, "All right, so catch a release."
Harry, you watch her. That doesn't go well for him. I'm
gonna go do my business. Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, because later on we find out
breaks
that
her wrist or whatever.
No, she broke her
dislocates. Okay,
and so that way she can get out of the handcuffs and kills him.
Poor Harry.
So
I love that guy.
Unfortunately,
but now he's got to find Yusuf.
Yeah.
And so...
but like when Perkins and John are fighting, he goes like, "I need to know where Yusuf is," and so she goes like, "I'm not gonna tell you anything." And there's a reason why I was talking about this in the first place was because of this dialogue that they have. Because he goes like, "Give me something. I need something." So she goes like, "Oh well, Vigo has a stash house in Little Russia. It's in a church, and like
church is the front."
Then he goes to the church with this awesome rifle, and he comes in. The father comes up and he goes like, "What can I do for you, my son?" Bam! Shoots him right in the leg, and then like there's these other guys that stand up in the pews, and then there's another guy up top in the back, and just shoots all of them. And he goes like, "What are you doing? Do you know who this is?" And he goes like, "Duh." And just like, we're going downstairs. So then they go downstairs. There's another couple of guys that are protecting the vault. Shoots them. He doesn't kill them at first. He just shoots them. And then the father goes like, he just goes like, if I do this, like Vigo will kill me. And he, like one of the guys goes and stands up, just boom, hits him with the rifle, and then shoots the other guy on the ground. He goes like, he goes like, all right. And so he opens up the safe.
Yeah.
He just goes like, what are you going to do with all this anyway? And he goes like, this. He has
his
flares.
Dark Knight Joker moment.
Yeah.
He's like,
and so he has like these, not grenades, but like they're flares.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they're like a different variety of flare.
Okay.
For like military purposes, I feel like. So like he just sets them on fire, and he gets out of there, and then Vigo comes up, and John is on a roof, catty corner to the building.
He brought out the wolf himself.
Yeah. And so he goes like, well, there's Vigo. I can go and do this now.
Yeah.
And so like they
I did not expect this on my second view. I was like, oh, he's going to attack all of them right now.
Right. And
That's
so
awesome.
So Vigo's making his way to the car, and he goes like, "Can we recover from this?" And he goes like, "Dude, no one's in that vault. No."
Yeah.
And John just comes up, just starts shooting at all of them, and the main bodyguard gets in a car and he drives into one of the SUVs that John is using as cover, hits him, knocks him out, and then he's tied up in a building that they're refurnishing. It looks like.
Yeah. Again, raises his kill count even higher in that scene, but does not. Yeah, he gets knocked out.
Okay. So he wakes up and he's like tied to the chair, and Vigo goes like, like, the leverage that I had on the city was priceless. He goes like, you could have done anything else. I don't care who you kill. It's just the fact that I have black mail and stuff.
Yeah.
And all this bunch of stuff that I had on the city. And he goes like, yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. He goes like, yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. And he basically goes to like, essentially goes to kill him. And one of the biggest things that I love is that the dialogue between them, because Vigo,
I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm weirded out by this.
Vigo is sitting across from him, and he goes like, this is the reason why that you're put on this path, is because that God took your wife away from you, so that way that you can come after me and get you back into this life again. And so he goes like, so he
and John like
him.
Agrees.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah.
And so he goes
My
like,
former
we're cursed, you and I. And he goes like, on that we agree on. He goes like, oh, find some common ground. Like, it's such a great dialogue going back and forth. But he goes, so he mocks him by just going like, Baba Yaga, and just like goes to get up. He goes like, just a fucking car, just a fucking dog.
Yeah.
And then of course we have the big huge monologue that John has. And he goes like, it wasn't just a car, it wasn't just a dog. And he goes like, Vigo, because Vigo's about to leave, and so he stops them from like trying to like kill him, and he goes like, and he goes like,
this is what Helen gave me.
Your son, he goes like, when Helen died, I didn't have anything, and then that dog arrived at my doorstep, and I finally had something to grieve with, some hope. And he goes like, but your son took that from me, stole that from me, killed that from me.
And Vigo's like, ooh, it's even worse than I thought.
Yeah, and he goes like, no, I think he's just sick of it. He goes like, oh, really?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, because like he starts talking about the dog again. He goes like, man, really? Again with the fucking dog? But
we might agree to disagree there. I definitely think that he was annoyed, but I definitely in that moment I was like, he's like, oh.
Yeah,
it's even worse than that.
Right, and he goes like, people keep asking if I'm back, but yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. I'm like, oh, it's so good. It gets you so pumped.
So
people keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, I'm thinking I'm back.
So great
it's
and
so
funny at the same
awesome.
time.
And he goes like, so you can either stand aside and let me kill your son, or you can die screaming alongside him.
So quotable.
It's so good. And then that's
I'm thinking I'm back. You can quote it whenever you want.
It's so good. It's just like, hey, are you back? It's like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. It's so good.
He's so funny, dude.
But yeah, so
for whatever reason, Vigo's like, oh, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of get that sense though. Vigo's a prideful guy.
Yeah.
The obvious tell is when he's intimidating his son Yusuf, and he takes off the jacket, puts it back on, takes it off again.
Yeah.
that's the prideful mob thing of like, I gotta keep up appearances.
Yeah.
And so he's like, even now, I won't kill you. You're not worth my time. I'm gonna have my guys take care of you.
Yeah. So
kind of dumb.
Yeah.
In retrospect, but he's a prideful
It's kind of
guy.
like the Austin Powers and Dr. Evil when he goes close the door, and his son just goes like,
I have a gun.
I have a gun in my room. We'll go and we'll just shoot them both. Boom,
Scott.
boom, and we'll be done with it. He goes like, Scott, you just don't understand.
Don't understand.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you?
Being evil.
So it's great, but they go to like put a plastic bag over him, and Marcus helps him again by shooting one of the guys in the head.
Yeah.
And then he goes up against the main bodyguard guy, and he kills him.
This guy's tough.
Yeah. And so like
definitely
gives John.
I'm trying to remember. How does he kill him again?
He just strangles him.
Oh yeah,
he strangles him with the zip ties that he's tied with. That's it.
Dang.
And then he leaves, and then they take off, like Vigo and the SUV. They take off, and so he cuts through these alleyways and stuff, and then he cuts in front of them, and like he has this really dope shotgun. He just like starts shooting at them.
It's bananas.
And Vigo is like scared now, and he goes like, "Cool it, cool it, cool it, cool it." And
Yeah, you just left this guy. Now he's standing on top of your windshield. You're
with
like,
a shotgun, holding you at gunpoint.
Well,
he just goes like,
that did not.
All right. And he goes
Okay.
like, well, he goes like, I have your word that if I tell you where my son is, you let me walk. And he goes like, yeah. He goes like, all right. He's kept in a safe house. He's over here. He goes like, okay.
That and I think you like take the bounty off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes like, take
I'll
the bounty
call it
off
off,
my
I'll
head.
call
He
it
goes
off.
like, yeah. He goes like, it's done. He goes, all right. So then he goes to the safe house.
Yeah.
Again, you know, they're all checking each other, saying that they're clear. Mm-hmm. John is just there with a sniper now because he already took out one of the sniper posts, and he goes like clear, and one like the Losif's like now remaining friend is now there, and he's just like, "Can you stop playing that video game?" Gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
I love the two guys' reaction that are by the window. He goes like, "Get down, get down!" And it's so funny. And so,
which
he shoots all of them.
I'm not a super picky guy when I'm watching movies, but I did have a little nitpick here because he's playing the video game, but he's got like headphones on, and I just don't. I don't know if they're trying to emphasize how nervous like Yosef was because he's like, "Stop playing the game." It's like I don't think you can even hear him play.
No.
Why are you so? But you know, they're just emphasizing more how he's a total D-bag.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, you know, if there are favorite kills in this movie, for some reason, these snipe kills, I don't know.
Yeah.
I loved them because they're so quick.
Yeah.
And I know that that's like so hard to do.
Right.
I really like the snipes. I think they're my favorite of the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
They're super.
Because there's
good.
a lot to pick, but I like that one, especially with the hammer knife.
Yeah.
But I like these ones. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Losif and one of the bodyguards, they go to run away, and then you just see John walking through this garage, and he just sets a detonator off with the SUVs, and it blows them up. And then Losif goes running through, and it's like a hangar, or not a hangar, it's like a giant warehouse or something. Because like there's these giant, not canisters, but they're the giant like. Industrial I don't remember what they're called,
but there's like fire everywhere at this point, right?
because he said he armed the cars to explode, so that way he can't leave, but he gets shot by John in the stomach, and then he comes walking up and he goes like, it was just a fucking boom,
bam,
just shoots him,
he's back,
and then that's it.
That's how John does it.
Yep. And then
nope, not gonna stare at you this time.
Yep.
It's over.
Yep, because he killed everybody, and that's awesome. But you would think that would be the end of it. It's not.
It's not.
Because what ends up happening is that
Vigo's so stupid.
Yeah, Vigo's back in his office, and he's getting stoned by smoking weed. And he gets a call, and he goes like, make the arrangements. Because he already knows what the call is about. He goes like, make the arrangements, goes off. And then John goes back to the Continental, and he goes like, hey, the manager goes like, hey, because of Miss Perkins, because of what you had to deal with her, we decided to apologize for this, so we're going to give you this car. So he gets another car, being a Charger, and I'm
what
like,
do you think about
this
car? Oh, you like the Charger? Okay.
It's so good.
Okay. This has happened in other movies where like they have an awesome car,
and then
they're given a new car because that's part of the movie, and they're probably get money from
endorsed
the company
for it.
And I'm just like, that car is not as cool as the
it's
last
not as
one.
cool as the other two that he had.
I admit, it's, you know, if I got it for free, I'd be pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
And I know you like black, even you got your black here, so
great.
What's your thing?
So he leaves the Continental, he's on his way back home, he gets a call from Vigo, because Vigo is telling him that he basically went to Marcus's house and he killed him. Because he went to Marcus to go and kill John Wick. And because he didn't kill John Wick, now his son is dead. He goes like, if you would have done your job, my son would still be alive. And that's why I'm doing this. And he kills Marcus, and he loops back around. He goes back to Marcus's house, and Vigo and his gang are leaving. He goes like, oh yeah, like, we're going to get on the chopper. Get to the chopper.
Yeah, he gets that in from somebody. I can't remember who. But this is another reason why I feel like the possible meaning, it kept coming to me is like, don't mess with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And Vigo did not learn the lesson.
No.
Oh, so stupid. Anyway.
But yeah, so John gets to the house, finds out that Marcus is dead, and then he gets a call from Winston. he tells him. Oh, well, before that, because like Perkins gets a call, because this is the reason why that Marcus was found out that he helped John, was because that Perkins followed John after all of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And Marcus and John are talking, and so she goes like, Marcus was helping. So then she tells Vigo, and then that's why that he decides to kill Marcus.
Right.
Because he found out that, he just helped him along the way.
Which is bad news.
Yeah. And so she gets a call from the Continental saying like, "Oh, hey, we want you to meet. We want to like do something for you. So meet us over here."
Yeah.
Winston goes like, "Oh yeah, you're because you did business on Continental grounds, your license has been revoked by thine own hand." And then he walks away, and then there's like a few more guys that come up, and they just shoot her all at once.
That was beautiful.
It was
from Ian McShane. He said it's almost like in passing. He's like, by their own hand.
Yeah.
It kind of fades out of frame.
Yeah.
Come out. Oh, so beautiful.
And then he calls John while he's at Marcus's and goes like, "Hey, not to tell you about this, but there's a certain helicopter being fueled for a certain someone that they're gonna leave." And he goes,
no big deal.
Yeah. And so then John goes to the helipad where they're on their way to.
Some cool car action here.
Yeah, some cool car action. I really like the dialogue with Vigo,
like...
because Vigo is like drinking. He's also been smoking a little bit of weed
too.
And so he goes like, "Hey, do you have my cigarettes?" He goes like, "Yeah, I got your cigarettes." He goes like, "All right." So when John comes up, he takes out one of the cars of bad guys.
Yeah.
And now there's just the main car with Vigo and the rest of his bodyguards. And so he bumps into him. He goes like, he's laughing the whole time. He's just like, "Oh, that was a good one."
Yeah, Dean Winters is not having a good time.
No. And he goes like, "Dude, what the hell?" Like, he's just freaking out the whole time. And so, like, they get stopped because, like, he bashes them into a barrier.
Yeah.
And
Dean Winters is, like, his character in this movie, it's basically a side plot of a guy who needs to quit his job.
Yeah.
Like, the whole movie is just
so
like,
funny.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so then Vigo tells his bodyguards to, like, basically go and kill him. Yeah. And, like, the fact that he doesn't get out of the car to kill them. No, he drives around and just shoots at all of them. Kills all of them.
Yeah, because he trained for that, right?
Yeah.
It's so insane.
He
did trained to drift
himself.
And shoot.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
And the fact that he did 90% of all the stunts in the movie, too.
So cool.
So it's awesome. But, yeah, so he's whipping around in his whip, and he's, like, shooting all of them. And he... now there's just Dean Winters. He goes like, I need a gun. Like, does anybody have a gun? He goes like, Vigo goes to give him the gun, and so he's like pulling it away from him, and then so he grabs it, and like he's just like tightening his grasp onto it, and he tells him something in Russian, and he goes like, "English," and he goes like, "Good luck." And he goes like, "Russian cocksucker," and he gets out. And
yeah, I'm happy that you said he was drinking. I did not realize that.
Yeah, he was drinking while they were on their way to the helicopter too.
We had different viewing experiences. You got to go to the theater, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like trying to take care of a crying baby watching this movie. So there was a couple things that I missed, and I was like, "Why is he being so silly?" It's like, "Oh, he's drunk."
Yeah, it's because he was drunk. He was also smoking weed beforehand and stuff like that too. So
that
was
silly.
Awesome. But yeah, he was getting a little loosey goosey. But so Vigo gets out, and which is amazing because Dean Winters, which I don't really believe him to be an enforcer at all. Or a hitman or a bodyguard. So, because like he shoots at John and like he barely gets, like he doesn't get him at all, but he almost got him by shooting the door. And so Dean Winters just looks at the gun and he laughs. And then all of a sudden now here comes John in his car. He's going to get you. And he doesn't kill him with any bullets. He just like slams him into the car by drifting.
Yeah.
And so he just slams into the car on the passenger side and he just kills him that way.
Brutal.
Now, Vigo gets into the driver's seat and like basically bashes into his car.
Second wind.
And so John gets out of the car, narrowly escapes the falling of the car going down into that pit. And then Vigo goes towards the helicopter, but he stops. And John goes after him and he goes like, "No more guns, John, no more bullets." John goes like, "No more bullets," and throws the gun to the side. And then they have their fist fight. And then Vigo pulls out a knife, and John stops him from stabbing him after like they're doing their hand-to-hand stuff. And John looks at the knife and he realizes, "I'll just stab myself and I'll just get the knife that way."
Guarantee the kill.
So he just stabs himself with the knife.
Coming closer.
Yep. And then Vigo lets go of the knife. John grabs the knife and then stabs him with it. And then this line is synonymous throughout the whole series as well. It's like, be seeing you, John.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Oh,
because
okay.
there's a few more characters that say it throughout the movies. They're like, be seeing you, John.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Is this like the meaning of like we're all going to the same place?
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
We're all going to pay.
Yep. We're all
Everything
going
has
to
a
hell.
price.
Yep. We're all going to
Okay.
hell. I'll see you there.
That is the theme, isn't it? Even with this stuff at the end, I was going to say the whole Vigo John thing had me really confused. Like I was like, am I reading into this too much? Like I don't understand why I'm supposed to think of these guys as the same guy.
Right. Like they're equals, but they're not.
I know they're in the same world, but they're very different people.
Yeah.
But then no, the seeing you, John, that really sums it up. It's like, listen, I know that you won this, but come on, we're all bad people.
Right.
To normal things.
Oh yeah, like no matter how much good that you do in the world, especially for him just living a normal life, like he killed a lot of people and he did it for all the bad reasons.
Yeah.
So, but regardless, but yeah, so like we'll tie it off with a little.
Oh no, it's all good.
But yeah, so then we go back to the beginning from when he crashed into the building and he collapses, but
he's not doing so hot.
His phone is still playing that video of him and his wife, and she goes like, "Come on, John, let's go home." And then he gets up and he goes to a vet place. He breaks in, and he gets all the supplies, like medical supplies. He has a staple gun, starts stapling his side back because he got stabbed. And then he takes one of the dogs, being the pit bull, and then he goes like, "Let's go home." Yeah, and that's just where it ends. He walks down the street.
Bookend of the dog.
Yeah. So that has been John Wick. So we're coming up to about maybe an hour and a half. So, but yeah.
Do you remember seeing this though for the first time?
Oh yeah, I slept on this movie. And, like I bought it on digital when I first saw it.
Okay.
And because like I was going to Arizona and I went out there to go see my girlfriend at the time, and so I went there to visit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy some movies online because I don't have anything to do. So like, I bought that. I bought Guardians of the Galaxy and Dracula Untold. Were the three movies that I remember for sure that I bought. And I watched John Wick, and I was just like, this movie's freaking amazing, dude. This is an awesome movie.
Same experience, digital streaming.
Yep.
Wasn't like a thing. Didn't make a thing of it. Just like, oh, I've heard things.
Yeah.
And I was just like, maybe eating some food, maybe some Taco Bell, and watching this movie. I was like, oh, this is sick. This is dope.
Right.
And I'm happy that it went that way because it's kind of nice to be surprised by it.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So, but yep, that was John Wick. And then we'll talk about a few things here.
Yeah, sure.
I actually wanted to do some taglines.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think this is funny. So, one of them is "Don't set him off."
Don't set him off.
Because apparently, I saw one of the posters. It was just like a shot of just like above his shoulders. And he has a tie, but at the bottom of the tie is like a fuse.
Oh,
so it's
that's
like, don't
cool.
set him off.
That's cool.
And then one of them is, John Wick isn't the boogeyman. He's the guy you send to kill the effing boogeyman.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not really a tagline. That's just a quote that he mentions in the movie. Like, I wouldn't see that on any posters.
Yeah.
Another one is, revenge is all he has left. Which is true.
Yeah.
Because he's just after revenge throughout the whole movie.
They commit to that, because when you get to the end... I mean, he has the pit bull there.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like... And I wanted to comment on that, too, because the pit bull it's different than a beagle.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, yes, I'm going to follow what my wife has told me, but in trying to get through this, I'm still going to keep some of that love, right?
Yeah.
From my life that I created, but life's never going to be the same.
No.
So... yeah, it's going to be a pit bull. Cause, and, you know, I know people, there's like some stuff with pit bulls where people are like, don't talk bad about pit bulls. But they're clearly tougher dogs. And I think that it's cool that they ended that way. Like, I'm going forward kind of the same, kind of listening to my wife, but also kind of accepting I'm back.
Right. So, and then speaking of, the last one is like, we're thinking he's back. And it's just like, what are you talking about? We're thinking he's back. Like... yeah, again, that's just a quote that he mentions in the movie. Yeah. Because everybody keeps asking, like, oh, are you back? Are you coming back? Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, like, that's the reason why he says, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah. Because
he's getting back into the rhythm because he's been retired for so long.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that he forgot everything. It's just the fact he's a little rusty. Even Winston mentions, like, oh, yeah, I thought that you were supposed to give the beatings, not receive them. He goes, like, I'm a little rusty. And then even Marcus, after that whole scene with him killing Losif, he goes, like, you look worn out. And he goes like, no, I look retired.
I thought you were, retired.
Retarded.
Retired.
That's the thing.
No,
So
I like retired.
but yeah, then I'll leave it with this, and then we'll give our consensus on the movie.
Oh, this guy gave it a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, so I like
What
to
a
do
dweeb.
like a 1 out of 10.
John Wick's coming for you, man.
So, and I do all this stuff on IMDb, so you guys can always go on there and look at the stuff yourself. But one of the things that I really, because I was looking at this last night, and I was just like, okay, well, this one like meets the criteria of what I want to look at. So they say, really, most people like this film. Okay, he says, or rather they, because I don't know if it's a guy or a girl or whoever, but I thought it was one of the worst movies of all time. I only went to see it because it had 8.3 rating on IMDb. Wow. It is still rated over 8.0 as we speak. Holy crap-a-moly, Batman. This film was boring, lacked any character depth, and wasn't amusing or visually interesting. I have literally never been so shocked at the poor quality of a movie script or character development. Wow. This is the worst film I've seen in many, many years. And I'll tell you, it boggles my mind that most of you found it enjoyable. Just boggles my fracking mind. And here's my 10th and final line so that I can post this review, which most people will dislike, but a few random souls will agree with passionately. I'm assuming with passion, not passionately.
He's got a divide there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's got 396 up, 375 down.
Yeah. It's kind of
a
divide.
I learned today, holy crap a moly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But no, I do agree with like the dialogue and the character development. But the character development comes later on, though.
That's a whole discussion, though, because, like, isn't it fun, though, when an action movie has great action?
Yeah.
But the dialogue's kind of silly.
Right.
It's kind of great.
Yeah.
When you see the action movie that's great, but the dialogue is serious, but it's not good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't really care.
Right.
But when you see the Batman.
Right.
With great, where everything is great, then it's great. But somewhere in between, I don't like it. I'd rather it be silly.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Because, like, there's a certain caveat to certain movies like this to where it has great action, but not as much dialogue. And it's like, you don't really need that to be... Because for me, it's like, this is definitely a summer top-down convertible fun time movie.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's just a great movie for you to go and watch and just turn your brain off and not have anything to think about with this movie. And it was kind of like when I was talking with Sam about the episode last week.
Right.
Like, it's not a super in-depth movie to where you have to think about. It's not a movie that you leave and going like, man, like, it just keeps you thinking and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, dude, like, you can say, oh, yeah, I really enjoyed that for these sequences. Like, there's scenes in this movie and dialogue that are really synonymous with this movie.
Yeah.
Like, the whole club scene. Like, that is synonymous with the whole series because... even in Ballerina, you get that remnants of the club scene. You're like, dude, some shit is going to go down. Yeah. We just need to see how.
And I have to be honest, this is something that, watching movies through the years, this is something that I resisted at first.
Yeah.
When movies started to get a little bit more silly.
Right.
Like movies that were... Because growing up, well, it was always there, but it wasn't there in my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so serious, and it's so cool that it's serious, and
right.
It's awesome, and The Matrix is super serious. You go back and watch The Matrix, I know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious.
Like, show me.
Like,
and it's
it
like,
makes
what?
it, and I was resistant to it. I don't know why, because most people I knew weren't. They were like, yeah, a blockbuster is funny and serious.
Yeah.
But, this one did that really well.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the silliness.
It blends both of the action as well as like the poorly done dialogue.
Yeah.
Because like as my wife put it, like I didn't realize how poor the dialogue was up until I actually watched it in a movie theater. I was like, oh, for sure, because it's been a while since we both have seen it. So it's just like, like I can nitpick that. That's understandable. I get that. But yeah, like most of the stuff that
I thought the character development was good.
Yeah,
nice and
like,
quick.
I mean, like at first you don't know who John Wick even is, and then later on you find out through the course of this movie who he actually is. He's a world-class assassin. Most people actually know him by name, and they're surprised to hear him. He's back.
Yeah,
and like
they gave us a lot, even when he's supposed to be mysterious. They still gave us quite a bit.
Yeah.
He somehow lived this other life. Like he was able to keep it underground.
Yeah, and like people were like, "Man, like how is it on the other side?" Because that's all that they've known is just this life specifically.
That is cool.
And they're all like, and he tells them like, "Oh, it was great." Like, and especially talking to that bartender, he goes like, it's far better than I would have ever wanted. Mm-hmm. And like that tells you
that's
how important it was for him.
Yeah.
Because and like what Vigo told his son, he goes like, well, he wanted out of this life, and it was all because of a girl, of course. And he goes like, so I gave him an impossible task that he might not actually recover from. And so he said the bodies that he buried that day are what laid the foundation of what we have now. But he doesn't say how many people that he killed or what he did.
Yeah.
He just says the amount of bodies that he laid down is what we are now.
Well, I want to see that prequel.
Yeah, because like I said, I have the comic book that doesn't lead into this, but it definitely gives a little glimpse of what he was before the movie. Okay. So, like before he actually went and got married and stuff like that and settled down.
The one that Sam has.
Yeah. Well, I'll because he goes like, yeah, I haven't started it yet, but I'll read it this week and I'll give it back. I'm like, okay, and that never happened. So
sad.
But yeah, but no, it's actually pretty good. If you want, when I get it from Sam, you can borrow it and you can read it.
Perhaps still reading White Knight.
Yeah. So but and then we will leave it with our consensus on a rent, buy, or skip. Which is tough. Which is the part of the movie where we give our consensus, and again where we have the name RBS, which is rent, buy, or skip, and why we think it's a rent, buy, or skip.
Right.
For me, I would obviously say that it's a buy.
Oh,
I mean, just a little bit.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm not biased, but, you know. Fuck yeah! It's a buy. I think it's a buy just because ever since I saw the first one, I'm like, I want more. I need more. And, of course, I have more. And I'm going to keep getting more because it's so good. But otherwise...
People keep asking me if it's a buy. Yeah. I think
it's
a
buy.
Yeah,
but I like the reason why that I say it's a buy is because that it's so good on the action. It's Keanu Reeves. He's back in the limelight again.
He's
after
fun,
this.
man.
And it's such a good time. Like, that's all it is. It's a really good action movie and a really good action series.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, there's a reason why that people love it. He even said that, oh yeah, I will keep coming back and making John Wick movies as long as the fans want me to.
Yeah.
So, but you'll be surprised in the fourth one of what happens.
I'm excited.
You should watch the rest of them for sure.
I mean, you know, I'm up against it here because rent by skip, it's not a skip.
Right.
And up until, you know, doing this, I didn't own it.
Yep.
But the other day, and hopefully it's still this, on Amazon, you could buy it for $5.
Nice.
So, it's a buy because I bought it. Nice. But I was given the option, you know, rent it for $4, buy it for $5. But I'm not going to go against the rules and be like, if it was somewhere between rent and buy, it's a buy. But I think for me, it's like watch it every couple of years.
Right.
It's
watch it every so often.
But I'm like that with all my action movies. Like you know, like Harrison Ford's my guy.
Yeah.
So like Patriot Games and this Clear and Present Danger, that's going to come up again here, but it'll be like every 2 years. It's not going to be super often.
Right.
But it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Oh yeah.
Because you like action movies, it's not even a question. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Watch it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Like and I understand what some of the people talking about, like, you know, with this guy or this person, for instance, like talking about the fact like, oh, you know, like the dialogue, blah blah blah, like the cinematography, blah blah. It's like that's not what they were going for. If they were going for that, they would have made that movie like that. But they were going for more of like a gritty action movie that's about revenge and, you know, like he used to be an assassin, but now he's not. Now he's got to go back into being the assassin life and all this bunch of stuff. And people aren't sure if he's going to be there for long or what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's the mystery behind this movie. And even at the end, like he just leaves and goes home.
Yeah,
like you don't see him like actually go home. He just walks away because he got his revenge. He took out the big guy that he used to work for at the time. And as the series goes on, it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Yeah,
like
I'm excited to watch more of them.
Yeah,
this is a little bit of a side, but I think the big thing too, if you like action movies, even if you don't like action movies, if you just like Keanu Reeves, I think it's worth watching because yes, this kind of action was done in foreign film, particularly like The Raid and things like that. Yeah, and this is there's a little bit of a weird tie, but I like old movies. And something that Fred Astaire did in old movies is he got them to do, in musicals, he got them to do the dancing correctly. Yeah. Because in old movies, it wasn't being done. It was kind of like, sing a song, do a dance, awkward.
Right.
And he was like, no, we need to focus on the dancing and get the dancing right.
Yeah.
So that because if the dancing's right, then the dialogue will be better.
Right.
And this is what this movie does with the action. Yeah. It gets the action right so that the dialogue can even kind of suffer.
Right.
But it's solid, and other action movies owe this movie.
Yeah. And the fact...
Which owe the foreign movies.
Yeah. And, like, the other thing, too, is that, like, there's a reason why that so many more action movies after John Wick came out, because of its popularity, blew up because of that. They would call specific niche, really more action-packed movies the next John Wick.
The next John Wick.
Like Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody, they basically did a different version of John Wick. And it was, for instance, like the Batman Arkham games. They took that formula of not the story, but the mechanics of the combat stuff. They put in that in other games.
Yeah.
They basically took that and they put it into other games. Yeah. It's the same thing. They had the formula down for the action, so they just took that, just put it into a different wrapping
Thank you,
paper,
John Wick.
and then that was it. And it was like kind of like Violent Night. Violent Night, people, like the critics said, oh yeah, this is like John Wick, but in Christmas.
Yeah.
Like that's what they said it was.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't know if it was like not verbatim, so don't kill me for it. But that's basically what they said. But that's basically what they said is like, oh, this is like John Wick, but for Christmas.
Yeah.
And like, there are some times where it's like, it's basically that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
that's awesome.
But yeah, this has been us talking about John Wick.
John Wick.
And I'm sure that I'll talk about another movie with Sam at some point next week. We just got to find out. Which, by the way, thank you all so much for watching and listening. You guys can check us out on YouTube and Spotify. We also have an Instagram where I will be uploading clips, as well as our TikTok channel as well. So you guys can follow us on there. If you guys have any suggestions on movies that you want us to talk about, we will be more than happy to check them out. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if it's an old movie, a new movie. I'm pretty sure that at some point we'll actually sit down and talk about a newer movie that came out in theaters at some point. But for right now, just because of how hectic everybody's life is, we're just going to check out movies that we already have or that we can just rent from home. So, but yeah, let us know in the comment section below. And what is your guys' consensus on John Wick? Is it a rent, buy, or a skip? Let us know and the reason why. So, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.